What's up, Giants fans, Hub watchers, YouTube subscribers, Twitter and Instagram followers? It's Kush back at it again with another New York Giants video. I was about to say New York Giants video. Uh, Another Just Chillin podcast episode. No Young Guns tonight. KB was busy, so I said I'll just wing it solo dolo. And since it's spring break, I am on earlier than usual. Usually, if I do a Just Chillin podcast, it's around 9:30. We're gonna run this from like 8 to 10 tonight. Just gonna take your questions, keep the Q&A going. I'm expecting at least one guest on tonight, maybe two around the hour mark into this podcast. We'll see what's up. So shout out to everybody in here. We got Jane the Champ, Football Talk with Benny, Logan's Giants Zone, Duran Osman, Joseph Falby, Mike Nixon, Joel Yaddo. I think that's everybody in here so far. Nate Talks Giants, and yeah. What up, everybody? How you in here? A lot of members in here and a lot of mods. I'm going to say this. I might be redoing my mods thing again just because too many people are getting banned that shouldn't get banned. So I'm just going to, at one point, I'm going to reset the mods. So if you lose your wrench in, the next week or so, don't be angry. It's not personal. I'm just going to be resetting the mods in general because I have to go through every single week now into the channel settings to make sure that people that are banned are banned, to make sure that people that are not banned, if that makes sense, right? So I just got to go back through it. That everybody, basically, either everybody's going to lose it or everybody but 5 people would lose it that I know are always in here doing their job as mods. But in general, I'm going to be resetting it just because there's been a lot of fishy things going around, you know what I'm saying? And it hasn't happened on my channel alone. For example, you guys know Tana had to reset his mods a couple of times. I'm not sure if anybody else, but that's one that comes to mind that I know had to reset their mods. So no hard feelings if you lose your wrench. It's just that I'm going to be resetting it in general. It's going to be a channel-wide thing. Well, with that being said, though, we could get right in to the topics today. So I was busy today, but I did know that John Mara, owner of the Giants, or co-owner of the Giants, held a press conference at 3:30 where he talked about several things. We're going to get into those several things. I'm going to ask you guys to basically ask me which one you want me to get into first, which one you want me to tackle first. I know he spoke on Saquon a little bit. He kind of spoke or kind of elaborated on his comments on Daniel Jones that he made earlier this week as well. He talked about wins, I guess you'd say, or what he expects from this team. He also mentioned that he realizes that it's not a finished product. Mara kind of covered a lot of things. I don't know if it was a surprise press conference. At least to me, it was a surprise press conference because before it actually happened, I didn't know that it was going to happen. I just saw the notification on my phone. Oh, John Maris to go live at 3:30 today. I was like, what in the world? What's happening here? I got to know what's happening with Mara and why in the world he's having a press conference. But you guys asked the question, which one you want to hear about first? I mean, we'll give you a couple of seconds to respond. Otherwise, I'm going to hop into which one I want to talk about first. There was really only one thing that I was like, all right, I should probably talk about this. This is the one that interests me the most because everything else was kind of not necessarily cookie cutter, but his opinions on certain topics, I was just basically, I was prepared for those answers, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? But yeah, so no questions yet about it. I'm guessing you guys are either all good about it or I don't know. All right, I'll get into one. I'll just hop into one since y'all ain't asking. Saquon Barkley, right? So Saquon Barkley, oh my God. And shout out to Mike Nixon for the $10 super chat. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. Great member, great supporter. Me and him talk on and off the channel as well. Just a great dude all around. He says, here's to being great content creators and to being a bro. You can check on me when I was recovering from my mini stroke. And shout out to me for keeping me updated with the DM you about the close while you were out. Facts, bro. Mike was keeping me updated with John Mara's press conference. He was sending me the Art Stapleton tweets and all the other beat reporters' tweets. It was Mike that actually hit me up about it. I would not have known about it if it wasn't for him. So big shout out to Mike Nixon, great support of the channel. And in fact, I have it pulled up right here. So I'm just gonna get into the first quote that I want to talk about, right? Which is the Jordan Renan one, or Jordan Renan was the guy that tweeted out about Saquon Barkley. He said, also of note from John Mara, not in a hurry on Saquon Barkley contract extension. He's fully confident that Barkley is going to return to old form, but there's no need to act now. The Giants have more confidence in Dave Gettleman headed into this season, given the roster and where the team is headed. So, for Saquon, There's no need to extend them now. I agree. There's no need to rush to extend them now. I agree. However, you should put the fifth year option into play. Is that technically an extension? I don't know if it is, but give the man his fifth year option, which is on the rookie deal. So I guess all it technically isn't a extension because it's only $7.1 million, and you're gonna have him on the team for one more year. I still don't know what the Giants haven't done it yet. I feel like it should be a no-brainer to keep the guy on the team for another year for 7.1 mil, and it should be something that they should just get done, but it hasn't been done yet. But I do agree with Mara on the fact that there's no need to rush to do it right now. There's no need in general to do it right now. And even though he didn't say it, it's basically implicitly him saying he needs to see how Saquon performs. You could say all the time that I expect him to return to form, which is basically return to his 2018 self, which it's been a while since we've seen that, since his rookie year. That's what Mara is saying. I hope Mara is saying that because he's going to improve the O-line a little bit to help out Barkley, and we already have improved the weapons around him to help out Barkley. But we're going to have to see what happens. We're going to have to see what happens. Let me see what you guys think about that, if anything. Well, I'm seeing that Jason McCourty and the Giants mutual interest. We could get into that as well. There was a little bit of that. I'll give you guys my thing on that. And literally nobody commented on Mara's comment on Saquon. That's fine. That's completely fine. I'll just get into the Jason McCourty and the Giants thing then. I mean, I guess y'all feeling Jason McCourty? Y'all feeling Jason McCourty, man. That's how it be. Shout out to Michael Strahan merch. It's not even his merch. It's his clothing line. You guys saw that he got the gap fixed? Because I'm not with it. Listen, Strahan apparently said that I want to get it fixed for me. This better be an April Fool's prank, because in all his 50 years of living on this earth, he was completely happy with his tooth gap. All of a sudden, you telling me very close to April Fool's of 2021, he goes and gets his gap fixed? Michael Strahan, the legend of the gap. You know what I'm saying? The guy that rocks it better than anybody else. The guy that built his career while having a gap, won a Super Bowl with the Giants, became one of the best defensive players in NFL history with the tooth gap. And now he goes and get it fixed suspiciously close to April 1st of 2021. I hope it's an April Fool's prank, because he really shouldn't be fixing this. I mean, am I the only person that's thinking right now that that's a legendary, that should be a monument? You know, when they landmark buildings, they should have landmarked the tooth gap so he doesn't change it. And now the man went and got it fixed. I know he said, oh, it was for himself. I don't buy it, because he's never had a problem with it. He's always been a pretty confident dude. But I don't know. You guys let me know what you think about that. Michael Strahan and the teeth gap, man. I wouldn't be surprised, because tomorrow's April 1st. He puts out a tweet saying, oh, yeah, it was a joke, everybody. We see him smiling, you know what I'm saying, with the gap in between and everything. I mean, I don't know, man. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was iconic, bro. It was the iconic tooth gap. And shout out to anybody new that tuned in. BQC, Bobby Murphy, Joseph Clark, Mizrahi in here as well. How y'all doing? And to get into the McCourty thing right now, so Jason McCourty and the Giants apparently have a little bit of mutual interest. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I know if he comes here, he's going to be a backup, or at least if he comes here, he should be a backup. And I completely agree with the sentiment that you can never have too many good corners, right? I'm just like, maybe I'm capping a little bit. How good is a old Jason McCourty in terms of depth for us compared to, well, actually, who do we have at depth right now? The guys we would have at depth would be Isaac Yiadom, right? At this point, because we got Adoree and Bradbury on the outside, and then we have Donnie Holmes on the inside. Julian Love, depending on where they decide to play him, whether it's that slot corner or outside corner, he's going to be cornerback depth. Isaac Yiadom is also going to be cornerback depth. So a Jason McCourty at this point in his career, I think, is maybe a little bit better than Julian Love, or maybe Julian Love is around the same around the same performance as him. So as depth, yeah, it makes sense. I would completely want it. It would have to be a depth contract, which means I got to sign this guy to a vet minimum deal. And if he's willing to sign for a vet minimum deal, why not? Like, why not sign him? Why not bring him over? Why not get the leadership role, another leader in there? Why not get another veteran in there? Another Super Bowl champion in there? You talk about experience, and in general, our defense is very young. Why not get another vet in there that could teach these guys a couple of things? But it's going to be completely dependent, at least for me, on him taking basically a vet minimum deal. Otherwise, I'm fine rolling with the depth that we have. Because once again, If McCourty comes here, then he's going to be depth. He better not be starting. There's no way in the world he should be starting, in my opinion. What up, NFL DNA? Said he's doing psychology work, but wants to stop by. Thank you for popping by. Psychology, not an easy major. What college do you go to, by the way? What up, Connor Steven in here as hell? BQC says, do I like baseball? I'm a very casual baseball fan. It's funny because I've been to more baseball games than I've been to football games. But the only reason I've been to more baseball games is because Citi Field is literally like 20 minutes away from me, and MetLife Stadium is like an hour away from me. All right, it's like super easy to go to Citi Field, and for some reason, it's always easier to get tickets as well. I've been to one Yankees games. I've been to Citi Field like 4 or 5 times. Like, so it's crazy. I'm a casual baseball fan, as in I would tune in every now and then. I can't. If you ask me to name the entire roster of the Yankees, which I'm a casual fan of, I can't do it. If you ask me to get into the semantics of the game, I can't do it. It's not like the same level of fandom that I have with football, even though I've been to way more baseball games than I have football games. Let's see here. Joe Yada says only 3 intelligent questions asked at Mara interview. The New York press sucks. Can you let me know what those 3 intelligent questions was? Because I only got the quotes from him via Twitter. I didn't get a chance to actually look at the interview yet. And once again, if you guys want me to talk about a specific part of it, drop it in the live chat. I will address it. It should be 1 year, $2 million. Yeah, I would really want around 1 million, but 1 year, $2 million can't complain. We need a linebacker. Well, we got a linebacker this offseason in Ragland. I feel like people might be sleeping on him. We then got an outside one in Anderson, who people have told me that I'm sleeping on Anderson, even though I think we know what Ryan Anderson is at this point in his career. Reggie Ragland, I've been told, or not Ryan Anderson, I've been told, is going to be an underrated guy for us that could potentially break out and maybe have like a 6-7 sack season. But I'm a believer in Reggie Ragland in the middle of the field. That's not to say that I think we shouldn't draft a linebacker. You know what I mean? I think we still should. But if we roll with Ragland, I'm going to be completely fine with it. Mizrahi says, why not grab Clowney for 4 years, for a year, 4 or 5 million? 2 things. 1, I really don't think we need him. 2, he's a little too injury prone for my liking. He's also a little bit older. And 3, would he go for that price? But in general, I don't want Jadeveon Clowney on here. I know he has and can play outside linebacker, so he would probably fit. But I'm like, I feel like we could survive without them. And to be completely honest with you, given the fact I know the guy is gonna miss like 3 or 4 weeks, he's probably not gonna put up much more production than a guy like Lorenzo Carter, in my opinion. But we'll see. Let me see what else the chat is in here. New York Chris in here. Industry Plug in here as well. What up, Industry Plug 20? To answer the question, New York Chris says, I'm officially starting the draft Jason Owe campaign in the 2nd round if he's there. Jason Owe is a guy I would love to have in the 2nd round. Yo, if we talk about a couple players in the draft that I look at that I could see being sneaky picks just because of coaching connections, Jason Owe is one of them. And this is where having a coaching staff that just last year were like 80% of our coaches were all at the college level. And even now, we got another one, Rob Sale, our new offensive line coach, that was just a coach at, I think it was Louisiana, I think it was Louisiana, right? The Cajuns, whatever team that was. A big advantage of having that is the fact that these guys not only have the inside information on a lot of these players, but they also have a lot of connections to these players. Sean Spencer, our current defensive line coach, was the defensive coordinator of Penn State, right? He was either the head coach of Penn State or the defensive coordinator of Penn State. Either way, he dealt heavily in the defense of Penn State. Jason Owe is of course, the edge rusher coming out of Penn State. And in general, Sean Spencer, since he dealt specifically with the defensive side of the ball, knows a lot when it comes to the defensive players coming out of that university. That's why I think, we got a guy like Cam Brown, and, maybe Spence was the guy that talked to Judge and had Cam Brown shift from inside to outside linebacker for us. And to be honest, as a 6th-round pick, playing outside linebacker for his first time in his career, he did pretty good. He was always in the backfield. He was always getting good pressure. Jason Owe was there, not last year, but 2 years ago with Sean Spence. Right, so Jason Owe and Sean Spence, maybe they know a little bit about each other. Who knows? It's also the same thing for Michael Parsons, and why I say, well, if we're going to want to get a little bit more information on him and the Giants want to take a chance on him, they have somebody on their coaching staff that could give them a little bit of information, And let's see here. Bobby says, y'all need another cornerback after Adoree goes on IR. Well, Bobby, I'll tell you this. If we sign Jason McCourty and in the worst case scenario, Adoree Jackson ends up, injured, I think the guy to slide up if McCourty's here would be him. They actually no. Can McCourty still play effectively outside at this point in his career? You guys think? No. You guys need to answer that for me. But shout out to one of the first guests here tonight, Max Webster from Mic'd Up with Max Webster. What up? Hey, wait a minute. Max, stand up for a second.
Stand up.
Yeah. Max has the same sweater that I got, guys. I should have worn that one. I have that same one. A couple times. That same black New York Giants sweater. I got the same one. That's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, man, I'm glad to be here. I've always called into your call-ins, but this is my first time actually being on here as like an actual guest, so it's exciting,
Hey, no problem, man. Welcome in. And by the way, that's pretty impressive NFL DNA at UConn, majoring in business data analytics. Psychology is a required course, and he hates it. The NFL draft is the only thing keeping him going. Well, thank you for tuning in, but that's a hard course, and even that major is going to be pretty hard, man. I wish you the best. But yeah, what do you think about the little bit connections between the Giants and Jason McCourty? I don't know if you heard about it.
Yeah, I'm not sure how accurate it would be. Just because Jason McCourty, I mean, he is older, but he's a well-established player. I think, like you said earlier, having the veteran presence in the locker room would be nice. I just don't know that we can get him at the price point that you or I would like to get him at, or the Giants could even afford him at this point.
To be honest with you, unless it's something around a vet min, I don't want him. Like, we don't need him,
Right. Yeah, so that's just kind of where I sit there. Jason McCourty, he's a good player. Obviously, there's connection with Joe Judge and the Patriots. He knows Jason McCourty as a player. But yeah, that's pretty much just it. If he comes, I'd be excited, but not nearly as excited as someone like Kenny Golladay or even Kyle Rudolph, or because you see those players being impact players. Jason McCourty, I feel like at this point he'd probably be a rotational piece just because our secondary is so deep at this point.
Exactly, and even then, like I said, I would want him at a certain price point, which is around $1 million, maybe $2 million. Like I said, vet minimum is what I would give him because he's going to be on the bench. He's going to be playing, behind Darnay, behind Adoree, definitely behind Bradbury. And like I said, I don't know, maybe I underestimate him too much. But if I compare him and say Julian Love, I'm like sensing similar production at this point in his career, which is why I'm like, maybe he's even behind Julian Love in the depth chart. But if we get him for really cheap, it would be a plus only because of the locker room set of things.
Right.
And then AJ Marshall with a pretty good topic here. This was not one I really got into last night when it was confirmed. The NFL is going to 17 regular season games. Do you like that? I'm going to let Max go first, and then I'm going to
go. Yeah, I mean, 17 regular season games, it's great for the fans. It's great for us. We enjoy watching football. But like you were saying a little bit last night, it's another one of those like players that have injury concerns, or even players that don't. It's another game you're adding to the schedule, another chance for people to get hurt before the postseason even starts. And so I think moving into next year, because there was initially talks of having 18 regular season games, but I know this year it was just approving the 17. But I think you brought up last night the 2 bye weeks, and if they plan to go to 18 at any point, I think the 2 bye weeks are a must, just to give the players the proper rest, especially like. I mean, you had another game, and the same players that are asking for a lot of money already. Just imagine. I mean, one more game is going to mean a lot more to those players when it comes to getting paid. So it's good for us fans. We always like more games, but for the players, I'm not sure all of them are super excited about it. What do you think of?
Before I go real quick, shout out to Mike Nixon once again for the $5 super chat. I appreciate it, Mike. He says, I'd rather go young at corner like Asante Samuel Jr., Eric Stokes, or Tyson Campbell. The thing with those guys is that means you're definitely going to be using our second-round pick on a corner. And I agree with you on some point. If we're getting another corner, I'd rather be a younger guy. But if we're drafting a corner with our second-round pick, I don't know if – because of how stacked we are at corner, right? It's like I'm thinking right now, do they use their second round pick on a corner? They certainly can. I'd be a bit surprised though. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, it would definitely surprise me and a lot of other people. But even going back to the Jason McCourty thing, we talked about the veteran presence, and yeah, that would be good. But I mean, we already have James Bradbury, who's an established veteran. We already have Logan Ryan, who's going to be here for at least this season. as an established veteran in our DB's room. So is Jason McCourty going to really add that much more value as far as veteran presence and leadership in that defensive backs room? I'm not so convinced. I wouldn't look too much into this linking. If it happens, it happens. If not, then I don't think anybody's going to be upset that we didn't get Jason McCourty, right?
Yeah.
I think had we not addressed corner 2 this year at all, like that Adoree Jackson signing, it kind of would have upset fans if we definitely didn't address that in the first 2 rounds this year. But because we addressed that, I'm not upset if they don't touch another corner at all this year.
Yeah. And then, like I said, we still have good depth as well at the position, so I'd be completely fine if they leave it as is. If we do take a corner, I don't know. I don't think it's going to be in the first 2 rounds. I think the first 2 rounds are going to be one of 3 positions, or in this case, 2 of 3 positions, I guess. It's going to be O-line, edge, and linebacker in the first 3 rounds, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
For me, I can agree with the O-line, the edge. You know me, I've been an advocate for Chaz Surratt for quite some time now. I love the prospect, love the player. But because of the linebackers we have right now, I'm not so convinced that that's as much of a need. As far as where I sit, I was talking with Joel a little bit about this earlier. Probably by round 3, I do want to take another wide receiver.
Well, yeah, I was talking about the first 2 rounds.
Yeah. Oh, I thought you said first 3. My bad. Yeah. Because you said edge.
Yeah, I was like, it's going to be
O-line.
one of 3 positions, or in this case, one
bad.
of 2 positions
My bad.
for the first 2 rounds. Yeah. But yeah, no, I've been saying the same thing. I feel like right now the sweet spot to take another weapon would be the 3rd round.
Yeah, because I mean, I love Sterling Shepard as a player, but he is 1 concussion away from retiring. And even if he doesn't, we save like $9 million cap, I think, next year from cutting him. So if we can draft someone who can take that slot role over going into next season, even if they don't see the field this year, I'm totally going for that in this draft.
And then I'm gonna, since I didn't get to AJ's about the 17 games, I'm in the same place where Max is right now. For me, when I look at the 17-game season, on the surface, I'm like, yeah, more football. We get another game technically because now it's 3 preseason games instead of 4, so that's the way they're shifting it. But the thing that comes to mind immediately is injuries. Like, I feel like we're gonna see more injuries, or at least it increases the chance for more injuries. Just logically speaking, you have 4 extra quarters for players that are starting for their team to get injured more. You talk about rest. I feel like even with 17 games, they should have still added the other bye week. I feel like they should have something like maybe 1 bye week within the first 8 and another one within the second 9 or something like that. I feel like because the players need their rest. Like there's a reason football is only played for like 4 months in a year. It's because it's a hard sport. It's a hard hitting sport. It's one of the more violent sports out there. You get injured easily. Guys get like permanently damaged easily. They should really add another bye week to let these guys rest, in my opinion. They shouldn't wait until they make it an 18-game season to do it. But also, one thing that I don't really like about the 17-game season, and this is really like me nitpicking, is I hate that it's uneven because they're not doing a neutral ground site for the 17 game. That means 16 out of the 32 NFL teams are going to be in a disadvantage because 16 of them are going to have 9 home games and the other 16 are going to have only 8 home games. So I'm like, it would have made sense if maybe, I don't know, you guys made it a neutral game, a neutral ground, because the NFL does international games and whatnot. Or another interesting idea I saw, I'm not sure if it was from you, somebody in the Discord, or just on Twitter, go to like a stadium that's not being used by an NFL team right now, like St. Louis or something, and have that be the neutral ground site. Like, that would be pretty cool. But it does put you at a little bit of a disadvantage, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then shout out to Joe Yato for the $2 super chat. Thank you for the support, bro. He says Hub is okay with Gates to guard now and draft center. I'm not sure if that's a question or a statement.
It's a statement. He's going off of what you said last night.
Okay, yeah. I was like, I'm considering it. Yeah, I'm considering it. I won't lie to you. I'm considering it, even though I've really been like, just let Gates stay there. Just let him, finish up and actually get more than 1 season at one position. But I wouldn't be mad if it happens, I guess. Like with this draft right now, there's a lot of people are gonna get annoyed, but a lot of my answers are gonna be I wouldn't be mad if we do this, because that's how much I was impressed with our free agency, and I think our free agency really helped out the team. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, as far as Nick Gates goes, I would rather lock up that guard position. Nick Gates did fine. If it's not broke, don't fix it. He's not a pure center. He's not the best center in the league. But we know that guard is a need regardless of who's starting this year. Will Hernandez is a free agent next year. And based off the way the coaching staff has played him, do you think they're going to try to give him a contract extension? I don't. So I bring someone in to fill that guard spot this year because it's a need, but because I want that person in the room before they have to step in there and be a full-time starter. And if they're just better than one of the guards that we have on the roster now, then they do start day one. And Nick Gates, he was a decent center, but I also don't think he's going to be that surefire great offensive guard either, right? Like, I don't think he goes to guard and it's just like, oh my gosh, what were we doing putting him at center? Like, I don't think the elevation of play is going to be that much of a difference to make it worth moving him over a spot and making him adjust, and Daniel Jones just again this year for who's snapping him the ball every play.
The one part I heavily agree with is making the quarterback adjust to his new center. But I will say, when you're judging if it's worth to shift him, I don't think you should be judging how much he improves, rather what was available there at the draft. If there was, for example, a really good center available but not a good guard available, so they took that and that's what made them shift it. I think that's how you would judge it rather than what is this elevation going to be? Because I agree with you. I think he's going to be just as good, maybe a little bit better at guard than he is at center. But I feel like for me, which is why I'm saying I wouldn't be mad. It's like if, for example, somebody like Creed Humphrey is there in the second round at 42 and they take him, I'll be like, okay, I can understand it. The guy's the best center in the draft class. Like, I got no problem with it. And then they shift him over. Or, they could draft him another idea and then whatever center they draft, shift that center over to guard is another thing people have been talking about as well.
Right, and another thing I've been saying about Creed Humphrey that might turn some teams off to him, I'm not saying it will, but he is a left-handed center, which quarterbacks might not be used to, and a lot of your veteran quarterbacks like Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, who might be looking at a center this year because they let their center walk, could be very particular about how the ball gets snapped to them, and the difference of it being from a right hand to a left could mean the world to that quarterback, and I don't know. Creed Humphrey is a solid prospect. I don't know that I would draft him to play at center because of the risks involved.
So would you say he's not the best? Because he's objectively the best center in the class, whether you judge it all by the left-handedness or not.
I mean, skill-wise to the position, like as far as blocking goes and play recognition and being able to...
Which play recognition is probably the most important thing.
Right. But...
And by the way, I do
know that a lot of
agree with what
quarterbacks
you're saying
benefit
with the left-handedness because they are particular about it. But he is the best center in the class.
As far as an offensive line, it could be very beneficial. As far as the quarterback is concerned, it could be seen as a drawback, which is why I don't necessarily think he will for sure be the first center off of the board.
Which is why I'm like, maybe
prospect?
he is there. And like
Right.
you said, veteran QBs are going to be the ones that are definitely going to have the big adjustment. Thankfully, we don't have a veteran QB, but that doesn't mean he's not going to be particular. So it's like,
Right.
there's like each side has its own thing right now.
Absolutely.
And shout out to Duran Osman. This is a pretty good question. He says, any worries for the special teams considering they had subpar performances minus the Graham Slam? So I don't have any worries for them because a lot of our signings, I think, are going to play special teams. Ryan Anderson, I expect to be on special teams a couple times. Reggie Ragland. The three guys we signed on Tuesday night, whose name I already forgot, those were depth signings. Those guys are either going to be camp bodies or they're going to be living on special teams. So I feel like because we made more transactions this free agency than people realize. We've made like at least 15, and that might sound like a crazy number to some people, but that's because most of those 15 were depth guys / guys that are going to play on the special teams, and I trust Judge, a special teams coordinator, to be able to figure out what went wrong and to work with Thomas McGahee, who in my opinion is just one of the best special teams coordinators in the game right now based off of what we saw in 2018 and 2019. I trust them to figure out whatever it was because they're getting in players that they want now. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I'm not too worried about the special teams. Like you said, all these cheap contracts, the versatile players that maybe aren't for sure day one starters, seeing 90% of the snaps, they're going to contribute. I think even John Ross is going to be a big contributor in special teams if he manages to fit the 53-man roster after the camp. I'm not worried about special teams. Last year they were a bit shaky, but let's not pretend like they were terrible. I mean, we had some bad games, but we were still, I would say, above average as far as an entirety of a special teams goes for
I feel like
the
the
entire
reason we
league
say it
year.
was terrible is because we were one of the best in 18 and 19, and then it was a noticeable drop off.
Right, and then Joe Judge comes in here, who is the head coach and has special teams experience, and everybody just expects us to, in 1 year, become the best special teams when the roster did change last year, and camp definitely affected that. Like,
Hmm.
I don't remember who it was that I was talking to saying that they think that the camp ruined, like, the lower level players' chances to make the roster, right? The lack of having a camp. Those are your special teams players, the people who are like your Derek Dillons or like those type of players, right? That are fighting for that last roster spot. Those are your special teams players, and the fact that they couldn't really have a competing chance because of how the offseason went could have also had a big part in the decline of the performance of our special teams from the year prior.
Hmm. Joey Otto saying Mara was asked about Judge and this offseason and what he thought of him, and Mara said he has full confidence in him. Mara also said he has no problem spending money on a player as long as it's the right player. So, like I said earlier, some of the and even Joel referred to it. He was like, there was like only 3 good questions. Some of the answers that I saw on Twitter, I was like, okay, that makes sense. That's a very like not not cookie cutter, but a very like I don't know what the word I'm looking for. Just I expected an answer like that, so to say, right? Like this is not something I'm surprised John Mara, the owner of the team, is saying that he's confident in a coach that's very popular among the fans right now that has objectively been doing a good job in his first year, and that after a year of spending a lot of money since in like 4 years, he's like, all right, I got no problem spending a lot of money. Like I don't know, some of these responses I kind of expected. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, John Mayer is not going to come in here trashing the coach or the quarterback. He's still the owner. He still is the face of the franchise as the owner, right? It, I never really know how to feel about a lot of these press conferences. The people asking the questions don't ask great
You know,
questions,
I
and the
mean,
people
the
who give
press,
the answers
yo, the
feed
press
fake
be making no
answers.
sense sometimes, man.
Yeah, exactly. So, and then even like whoever is answering the questions, and most of the time they're not answering 100% truthfully. Like say the New York Giants are out
I
on
have
Daniel
yet
Jones,
in my entire life to see a press conference where I'm like that person is answering truthfully, even
right?
when they're giving like, or even when the situation is like if you answer truthfully nothing bad is gonna happen or something like that, they still won't do it because it's like you're never gonna get the complete truth from them.
Right, because everything they say is going to go out into the media world, right? It's not staying in that room where they just ask questions and the media knows the answers. They're making articles and everybody's going to see what they said. So they have to be careful about what they say, how they say it, even if it's not how they feel. So, like I said, I never really know how to feel about these press conferences. I agree with some things that John Mara was saying, like he was talking about the team and saying how like the players have confidence in Joe Judge, the fans have confidence in Joe Judge, and I do as well. Like he was, it seemed like he was taking a perspective from the fans, which I can appreciate, but I don't know, man. Like I said, a lot of those are just blowing smoke, but it's always exciting to see coaches, owners, all that stuff get in front of a mic and talk, anyways, especially in the offseason when not a whole lot's going on.
Mm-hmm. NFL DNA says, do you think the Giants will draft Parsons or Smith if both drop to 11? I think both of them could be there at 11. So I mean, I guess I'm gonna answer yes. I don't know which one, but they will definitely draft one of them if they're there, in my opinion, because I think both of them will be there. And if both of them are there, Slater probably isn't there. Like I'm kind of doing like an exchange in my head, like you sort of say. But yeah, if both of them are there, one of them are going to us. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, it all depends. I do think if one of the top two offensive tackles are still on the board, it's pretty much a lock to the Giants at this point. Um, Other than that, I am for taking a wide receiver in this draft because Shepard is gone next year, but I don't want to touch wide receiver in round one. That's just,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. That's just, I don't think it would be the best move in the interest of New York Giants. You can
What up,
find a
Noah?
slot receiver later, especially when the draft class, excuse me, for the wide receivers is this deep this year. They
Mm-hmm.
say that every year, but look at people like Rondale Moore, right? He's probably a second round prospect. Tamori and Terry, we've been talking about this whole time. I mean, he's not necessarily a slot wide receiver, but he's a third, fourth, possibly wide receiver, and he's expected to at least have major upside in the NFL. So, yeah, I wouldn't look to get Waddle. Parsons kind of interests me. I was leery about the accusations, but as talks went on and Joe Judge went there, and I don't know, it could happen. Before I was saying not at all, it could happen, but I definitely don't want Smith.
M626M is saying, and this is something that I did not consider at all, bro. This is a fact. A lot of single season records are going to be broken because there's an extra game now. I didn't even realize that. Yeah. I mean, is there going to be an asterisk next to them now? Like, oh, this was done in the 17 game season, not the 16 game one. And shout out to Diggy for making it in here. Yo, what up, man?
What's up?
But yo,
Diggy?
We were just kind of touching back on the 17 game season, giving our opinion on it. Like I said, very interesting point brought up with the records that are going to be broken. But in general, your thoughts on now that it's official. We're going to have 17 games, but still one bye week.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of thought that this would happen. It's first off going to help with the salary cap. It's going to push that up. A lot of players, I mean, I'm thinking like, are running backs going to play all 17 games? Are they going to have a certain game where, like, I think teams are probably going to be thinking about, like, if they're up a couple scores, they'll probably significantly start to give their running back less carries because that extra game is like, I mean, they don't play their running backs for preseason if you have a star running back. So I think they're going to, really start to give these running backs less touches. As far as the quarterbacks, they're just going to use that extra game to just pad their stats. That's just pretty much what it is. It's going to be a lot of inflated stats, even though it's just one game and you're thinking about it's just one game. But the thing is, there's been so many
300
times
more yards.
Exactly. 300, even 500 more yards. So it's going to inflate some stats, and at the same time, it's going to make some more money. So it doesn't really make a difference to me. I mean, either way, you have to win. You have to win enough games to get into the playoffs.
Right.
By the way, I just realized the Giants are one of the 16 teams in the NFL that are at the disadvantage now, right? Because we have 9 away games, I think, because our 17 game was away at Miami.
Before, and that doesn't make sense to me. Even. Well, one thing that I will say is, I mean, obviously they couldn't do it because of the pandemic and everything, but I think it's a good idea, what I've seen some people say, to have that last game be at a neutral site.
Yeah, me too.
Maybe they didn't have the resources to say we're going to do it in Mexico, we're going to do it in Britain, or we're going to do it here. But they could have gone to places that don't have NFL teams in the United States and had a neutral game. Like,
yeah, Diggy, I was saying you could go to St. Louis, that unused stadium, bro.
Go to St. Louis. Go to why am I not remembering? I'm this is funny because I remember this place from 2K, and there's like a D League team, and their mascot is called like the Mad Ants or something like that. But basically,
I mean, you could even go to a college stadium.
I think it's in
state
Fort
that
Wayne.
Doesn't have an NFL team.
I think it's like Fort Wayne, Indiana, or something. But that probably will be a cult city. But find some places that don't have teams and are like far or like in the middle of two teams, and just have that neutral site. I think that would be cool for people who don't get a chance to go to games.
Mm-hmm. No, I completely agree with you there, man. And then since people were asking about the pro days, popped in right at the right time because two amazing players in the draft had 2 amazing pro days today. And I just want to say, and I'm going to get y'all thoughts on this first before I ask the actual question. Yo, everybody's running a 4-3 now. You know what I'm saying? Like, is this just a new breed of player, or is this just, everybody's running a 4-3 because, it's only pro days and not combines? Like, what do you guys think about that? Either we're having a new breed of freakish athletes where every single person is just out of this world, or is it a little bit of measurement, thing happening?
Yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and say more of that second option here. A lot of the true measurements are done at the combine, right? We still have pro days even when there is a combine. It's all hand time, so who knows what? Like, it's all a guesstimate, honestly, at this point. Are they fast? Absolutely, but I don't think there's any chance in this world that literally everybody who's going into this draft is running like a 4.3, 4.4 at this point. So,
and not even just the 40 time. The 40 time is the only one I would suggest that you could alter, really, because it's really the only one. Like your agility with the shuttle drill, I think those are going to be accurate, and of course, like your vertical is going to be accurate. So in that sense, yeah, in my opinion, a lot of these guys are freaks coming out with the verticals we've been saying and whatnot. But yeah, go ahead, Diggy.
But yeah, I mean, the thing is, you can say that these 40s are not legit, And that's fine. But a lot of teams, we have to remember, use their own hand times anyway. Like Odell ran like a 4.43 at the combine. The Giants might have timed him at 4.5, or the Giants might have timed him at 4.3. And these football coaches and GMs, especially the older ones, they're going to use their hand time. So a lot of this doesn't make a difference anyway as far as the scouting. It's really just a difference for us. But Jamar Chase, I think that's close to a legit time. I had him, I thought he would run like a 4.44 or a 4.45 or something. But, I mean, I could see that. Also, you have to realize they can have any kind of surface they want to run on. They can have, they're comfortable. They haven't gone through a bunch of drills and a bunch of like grueling tests for days and days and been deprived of sleep before they run those 40s. So there's a lot of things that could go into it. I think probably the biggest thing is the fatigue, because anybody that's been to the combine that describes it, from what I've heard, is that they go through like days of like, day after day of going through like bench press and meeting with teams and going through grueling drills, and they basically don't get to sleep. So these guys have been relaxing. Some of them, Jamar Chase has been relaxing and training for the 40 for over a year. So, I mean, I could see some of these times being legit. Now, Terrace Marshall running the 4.38. That's when I said this is kind of fishy, because Terrace Marshall is. I don't know about that one, but at the same time, the vertical leap and the 40-yard dash usually have a pretty high correlation. If you usually are like jumping like 39, 40 inches, you're usually running really fast in the 40. So Terrace Marshall did jump 39 inches. So that's possible. A lot of these guys, I mean, Terrace Marshall has that long speed I see on tape. He just doesn't have the acceleration in and out of break. So I think that might be some of the confusion.
I need to see the 80-yard dash so we can see if they're faster than Daniel Jones in a straight line.
Oh gosh.
I think that this whole thing should be changed to the 20-yard dash.
Why?
Because that's mostly what people are doing. I mean, receivers, maybe make the receivers still run the 40, but offensive linemen should run a 15 or 20-yard dash. Defensive linemen, the same thing. I mean, like, most of the time you're not running 40 yards unless you're a receiver or a DB. It just doesn't happen. Or maybe you should keep that in because of special teams. But as far as the offensive and defensive lineman, I think it should be a 20-yard dash, because that really shows the explosion.
Yeah, Joseph Balby says Goodell wants the stadiums to be full next season. I heard that as well. Thoughts? I mean, I'm sure they're gonna have their their precautions in there. Like they're not gonna do it without precautions.
It's gonna happen, precautions or not.
Yeah,
it's just gonna happen.
I mean,
you think 100% capacity at every stadium for sure?
I really do. Unless outside
not only have I
in.
heard Goodell saying, but I've heard several NFL owners saying it as well.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, it does come down to the governors.
Yeah, that's what. So unless, like, for example, New York, New Jersey, because it was the New York teams, the Jets and the Giants, the LA teams, and maybe one other one, but those four for sure, they were always the hardest when it came to regulation. So if they're not at full capacity, I wouldn't be surprised.
And someone in the chat, Deron Osman, he said, surprised nobody has beaten Bo's 419. Again, that was a hand time. So a couple of people might have beaten that. So, I mean, this is what I mean when I say these teams go from their hand times anyway. So these are probably the times that these teams are getting either way. The only way that they could alter this 40-yard dash is if they just make the track shorter. And, I mean, they're doing it on the field. There's yard markers there, so I don't think that they've really done that.
There was another question I saw. Oh yeah, the actual question I was gonna get to. Yeah, how impressed were you guys with Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase's pro days today?
Go ahead, Diggy.
All right. I wasn't really impressed with Kyle Pitts. I expected this from Kyle Pitts, and I've been telling people that Kyle Pitts has the physical tools of a wide receiver. He just does. I mean, I think the only way that you can question Kyle Pitts, his ability as a wide receiver, is those agility drills. And I think he's probably more agile than some people like DK Metcalf as far as going side to side. So I don't really have any questions about that physically. I was shocked by his wingspan, the fact that it was the longest wingspan, because I would have thought that would be Larry Darnell, but I checked and he wasn't at the combine, so it might still be Larry Darnell. But as far as Jamar Chase, this is pretty much what I expected. He's been training for the combine this entire year. Like he's been posting like promo videos of him running 4.4 flat. So especially with a hand time, I expected him to run like this. But I mean, just to watch him do that, I mean, he completely dominated. Like he did that. He had the vertical leap. He looked. I mean, I didn't get to see some of the on-field drills, but I'll look at it later. But I'm sure that looked good. He just is the full, complete package, and it's satisfying me. It's satisfying to me as an LSU fan and a Jamar Chase super fan to see him go out there and put everything together and just show that he's pretty much a perfect receiver prospect. Like his only downside was that people said he can't separate because he doesn't have top end speed. Well, if that 4.38 isn't a legit time, it's not a 4.5. So it shows that he has speed. So I was happy to see it. And I mean, with the other LSU players, it was a complete freak show. It was a complete freak. Like Kerry Vincent Jr. he ran a 4.33. He jumped 43 inches. It was a complete freak show.
Yeah, man. I mean, I guess my question at this point, we all knew Jamar Chase was the clear number one wide receiver in this draft class. I don't think there was much question about that. But with the recent moves of like Miami going from 3 down to 12 and then back up to 6, I guess my question now is, because a lot of people correlate Jalen Waddle to that offense. So if you're Miami at number 6 and you just had these athletic freaks like Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase go out there and put out what they did on the field today, do you pass up on the two of them to get Jalen Waddle because you think he might have a better fit in your offense?
I don't think you do that. I mean, first off, I think Kyle Pitts, I had a hunch of this before this happened, but with the news that came out about Kyle Pitts and the Falcons, about how he's talked to them a lot, I really think the Falcons are either going to trade back or take Kyle Pitts. So I think Kyle Pitts is going to be off the board. And then the Bengals, it's all about what the Bengals do. I think the Bengals, it seems like they might take Jamar Chase because Joe Burrow wants him. And I mean, I watched them all year last year, and I really feel like if you get Jamar Chase, then that chemistry, just like the same way that LeVar Ball said, if you put all three of the Ball brothers on the court, the chemistry is just going to be at an all-time high. It's just going to be like that. So I don't think they will regret that move. But the Dolphins cannot pass on Jamar Chase because he could play the slot full time if they needed him to. I just don't see – they can't do that.
And then, this basically kind of certifies. We already knew it, but it's once again stabbing in the heart that, neither of these guys are going to be there at 11. Me and Diggy, we forgot that Chase's pro day was today, so we didn't get a chance to go down to LSU and like basically make it so that he'd run like a 4.7 or anything like that. I forgot
Juju on the field.
I forgot to give him bad pizza the night before so that like his stomach would be hurting on the day of. You know what I mean? All that, man.
What about you, Hub? What do you do if you're the Miami Dolphins here? If you get to number 6,
right? Yeah.
And you have Pitts, Jamar Chase, and Jalen Waddle on the board, because Jalen Waddle might be a better fit. Yeah. Like, if that happens, do you pass on Pitts and Jamar Chase because you think Waddle might fit your offense a little bit better?
Well, first of all, I'm still considering Slater at that point. But I would at 6, yeah. Would you not consider Slater at 6 for the Dolphins?
Not over those weapons. I think that's a bigger need than the offensive line for them.
Yeah, I would still consider them. I would still consider Slater at that point. I don't know. I still would. I'm a big offensive lineman in general. But yeah, go ahead.
I was gonna say, first off, I think Penei Sewell will be there, so that'll probably be a tough thing for them.
So who do the Bengals take instead?
Well, if Sewell goes to the Bengals, of course he won't be there, and then at that point it's between Kyle Pitts, Jamar Chase.
Yeah, at that point it's gonna be all 4.
So
that's why I'm like Sewell isn't there, so I'm considering Slater.
But I think you can't. I mean, I've already been on Twitter saying that I don't think Rashawn Slater is a better player if Devontae Smith and Jalen Waddle are on the board at 11. So if you have basically the step up from those two, Kyle Pitts and Jamar Chase, who I believe are top 3-4 players in this entire draft, I think Slater is probably around 12. If
This is
if
what
you
I'm
ask my
looking at.
opinion.
The Dolphins have a quarterback that has had a lot of injuries in his or spent a lot of time of his career because of injuries on the bench, and they have a quarterback that they're not completely sure of yet. Like if they're going to move forward with this guy. That's why I think the line is still more important at this point to actually get him some protection that he needs. And you could still get a top weapon at 18 because a guy in
Yeah,
Rashad Bateman is going to be there, in my opinion, now
that's a
because
good
I think
point.
all of these weapons are going to drop. So I think that you could still get like a top weapon at
But
18.
the thing is, I mean, listen, I think Jamar Chase and Kyle Pitts are so far above because I'm not as high on the other receivers as some people are. I think Rashad Bateman is really good, and he would probably have the same kind of effect as being like a top kind of receiver. But I think taking the elite top 3 or 4 player in the draft, Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts at 6, and then at 18 taking an Elijah Vera Tucker or another offensive lineman that you can get a starting offensive lineman at 18.
You can.
I think I would rather have
Here's
the
what it
elite
comes down to,
weapon.
Diggy, right? They need a guy in the slot, right? Basically. And to be fair, a slot receiver is always easier to find than an outside receiver, in my opinion. So that's why I'm like the production and performance you get from the lineman in Slater at 6 is much greater than you get from the lineman at Vera Tucker in 18. And I think that difference is greater than what you get from Jamar Chase in the slot at 6 versus Rashad Bateman in the slot at 6.
See, the thing is, a lot of Dolphins fans are telling me straight up that they're just not confident in their second receiver.
Mhm.
They have like Preston Williams and
Parker,
can't
right?
think of other. Yeah, and Devontae Parker. They're confident in Devontae Parker, but they're not confident in that second receiver. So the rest of us are saying they have 2 outside receivers, and this is a luxury pick. But some Dolphins fans are saying that they don't have 2 outside receivers. They only have 1 good receiver.
Well, and
So-
they did pick up Will Fuller this offseason too. I mean, I know he's got injury issues,
okay.
but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, without the injury issues, I would think Will Fuller would solidify that completely.
As a second wide receiver, yeah.
So, yeah, I forgot that they had Will Fuller. Since they have Will Fuller, I mean, even with the injuries, I'm going to say that they don't take a receiver there at 6. I just can't see it. They might take Kyle Pitts, but I just don't see them taking a receiver.
Yeah, that's
I think they're going to bank on Will Fuller. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you think Jamar Chase might fall to 7 to the Lions?
Which is what, by the way,
I think
in
Jamar
the
Chase is
recent
going to go to the
mocks we've been
Bengals.
doing- In the recent mocks
really?
we've been doing, it's always been Chase to the Lions. I will say that. But Chase to the Bengals over O lineman. No matter what you think as an LSU fan, that's gonna be manslaughter for me. For them,
I'm telling you, man. I'm telling you. First off, Bobby Hart is out of the line, so that's going to be addition by subtraction. Second of all, I just think the connection is just going to be too great. It's going to be the perfect test, man.
They will have no Wi-Fi to have a connection if there's no line.
I'm telling you, this is going to be the perfect experiment to show people that receivers are not more important than having a functional offensive line, but receivers can make a bigger impact.
But you just said the key
line.
word. They don't even have a functional O-line.
They added a dude from the Lions. That tackle from Riley Reef. Riley Reef, he's a solid tackle.
What is he playing, left or right?
I think he's going to have to play right. I mean, their offensive line is a mess, man. They're going to have to go. They're going to have to go offensive line second round.
When has it like been shown what you're trying to say that they're going to experiment with, where it's like the receiver will have a bigger impact than the offensive line? When has that been shown before?
I don't know. I would have to really look into it, but I just know that I've seen quarterbacks in this NFL going all the way back to Dak when he had the best offensive line in the league. And, because Zeke, and I mean, Tyron Smith will miss some games, but that's just one of the best offensive linemen in the league. And they still had solid line play. Well, missing Zeke, he didn't look good at all. And then you add Amari Cooper, who I don't think is a top 5 receiver. I just don't think he's as good as some people think. And all of a sudden, Dak is lighting the league on fire. And we don't even talk about Dak as a game manager anymore. People used to say Dak can't do anything without Zeke. And now Dak just got paid $40 million a year. That does not happen, I promise you, without Amari Cooper.
No, I agree with what you're saying. It doesn't happen without Amari Cooper. but he's not getting the ball to Cooper and winning games if their line isn't doing anything, which we kind of saw this
Yeah.
past year when he was healthy at least.
Well, and Diggy, you just said Amari Cooper. You don't see him as a top 10 wide receiver.
Yeah, there you go.
So
That's a good counter. That's a good counter.
So who do you value more going into this next year, Amari Cooper or Kenny Golladay? Who do you think affects the offense more? With which
who do I think affects the offense more?
Yeah.
Now, if you ask me who I think is a better all-around receiver, I'm going to say Amari Cooper. I think he's a better receiver than Golladay, but I think Golladay is going to affect the Giants' offense more because they don't have anybody that the defense had the game plan for before. Besides Evan Ingram, they tried that the first couple of weeks, and then they say he's not going to catch the ball, so they stopped doing it. He used to get bracketed, and then they just stopped bracketing him because he just started dropping balls. So I think Kenny Golladay makes a bigger impact.
And I'm going to ask this now. Well, we kind of talked about the Dolphins and whatnot with Pitts. Where do you think Pitts is going now at this point? What after his combine? Or do you think he's going higher than he was before, or just around the same? Because it only helped them out basically.
I think Falcons.
Really, that's a strong pick. I'm not necessarily surprised though because Colin Cowherd. I mean, the media they do their crazy drafts just because they get the clicks, but. I think Colin Cowherd's first mock draft that he did for on his show, he had the Falcons taking Pitts. The only thing that I would say might hold them back from that, and it's not because this tight end is a great player, but they did invest in him just last offseason. They picked up Hayden Hurst from the Ravens, right? He's nowhere near Kyle Pitts. He's not going to be what Kyle Pitts is going to be. But they did invest in him in free agency, and they have way more needs on that defense, in my opinion. So I think that would be the only shock factor if they took Kyle Pitts. It's not that Kyle Pitts would be going number 4. It's that the Atlanta Falcons have much bigger needs elsewhere, and they just took tight end as a luxury because they have faith in this guy.
So
first off,
go ahead.
I was going to say, first off, I want to rub it into everybody that told me that Kyle Pitts would not go in the top 15 because he's a tight end. First off, I just want to rub that in. Second of all,
he wasn't going in the top 15.
Yes, because he's a tight end.
Okay. And
he's not. Well, if he's going to go top 5, it seems like, and I don't agree with top 5, but he's going to go top 5. Kyle Pitts, I think he's going to the Falcons because I've always wanted to mock him to the Falcons, but I said, they have so many other needs and they don't have a problem really on offense, but maybe running back. So I was thinking they could take Sewell maybe, but there's no value there. They need an edge rusher. And I was thinking maybe they could use Caleb Farley, and then the back thing happened. So there's no value there for them to take a defensive player. And depending on how they feel about Michael Parsons, if he's off their board, then there's no defensive value for them. So I'm thinking they're either going to trade back for a team that wants a quarterback, or they're going to take Kyle Pitts. And then there's rumors coming out now that, Kyle Pitts said it himself that he's been talking to the Falcons, and it seems like they have a lot of interest in him. So I think maybe that could either be the Falcons saying, we actually will make this pick at 4 for trade bait, or they actually want to take him. I think they'll take Kyle Pitts, or they'll take Penei Sewell, or they'll trade back. I just don't think there's a defensive player worth the 4th overall pick.
So speaking of Penei Sewell, because Mike just told me to check my Twitter, that's something that Art Stapleton retweeted, and I did. So this is what he retweeted from Benjamin Albright. Do you guys know who Ben Albright is? He's a reporter for the NFL.
I've seen him before, yeah.
Yeah, so he's a reporter for the NFL. Seems to be a reliable source. He says, I don't think Sewell is the number 1 consensus tackle that Twitter makes him out to be. He's talked to a couple people that leads him to believe that Slater is the number 1 tackle. Stapleton retweeted and said, I've heard these rumblings as well. That Slater is
I
the
would
number
love
1
that.
tackle.
First off, I can understand why that happened because Slater is a lot more polished than Penei Sewell. He's a lot more polished. And I think he's going to be a better tackle his rookie year. He's a better tackle. He's better at, technique and everything. But Penei Sewell is just a big ball of clay that just wins on athleticism. And I think he can be coached up. So if Penei Sewell falls to the Giants, I'm taking him over anybody but Jamar Chase and Trevor Lawrence in this draft.
Jamar Chase still, huh?
Yeah.
If Penei Sewell is there, you could do whatever in the world you want with him. Put him anywhere.
Yeah,
and he's
you
gonna
can
be
put
good.
him at guard. You can put him at tackle. And, I mean, there's going to be a little bit of a learning curve. He's going to get beat a couple times wherever he goes, and people are going to say he's a bust after a couple of weeks. But in a year, Penei Sewell is going to be a monster. And that's my thing, too. We saw Andrew Thomas, and people called him the most pro-ready tackle in the draft. And Andrew Thomas got to the Giants, and he looked bad because he's a rookie.
Hey, let's not forget.
And we're going to plug in. We're going to plug in Rashawn Slater at right tackle, and he's going to get beat in the first couple of weeks, and then we're going to call him a bust. I'm not going to call him a bust, but people are going to call him a bust because we need this immediate impact from this 11th pick because we're trying to, give Daniel Jones all of this help, but he's not going to be ready at the beginning of the season. He's just not. And then we see receivers consistently come out of the box and be impact players. So, I mean, Rashawn Slater is going to have to deal with some learning. I think if we're going to plug him in at guard and that's just what we're going to do, then okay, I can understand that. But at tackle, there's going to be a learning curve. It's just, I mean, unless you're Tristan Wirfs and you're just a unicorn, there's going to be a learning curve.
Now, I have seen the conversations of Rashawn Slater being the number one tackle in this draft class. But I also have a question for you guys because Andrew Thomas was kind of looked at as maybe the most NFL ready, but maybe not. A lot of people thought Jedrick Wills had more polish to him, much like Rashawn Slater does. But Andrew Thomas was looked at as this athletic freak that just used his athleticism to hold the edge, right? So if you bring someone in here like Sewell, and we already have Lemieux on the roster, do you look to maybe move Andrew Thomas to the right and put that duo that played at Oregon together on the left side again?
Oh, no. No, thanks. I mean, listen, like I said, Penei Sewell.
I'm going to say something right now. It might be a hot take. Andrew Thomas is better than Penei Sewell.
I agree. I just had the question because Rashawn Slater is, like you just saw the tweet, by some people looked at as the best tackle.
I would say Andrew Thomas is better than Penei Sewell right now, of course.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
And I don't think that because people just think just because he's the top tackle, he's going to come in and be an all-pro day one. But that's just not what you see on tape. But if we stick Penei Sewell as a rookie beside Shane Lemieux on the left side, and
oh, I didn't even hear that part.
It is curtains. It is curtains for Daniel Jones.
I'm not putting Shane
you want to see some more sacks,
bro?
I don't think it's impossible to see Shane Lemieux starting at left guard this year.
Nah, I feel like you're super underrating Will because earlier you also said as well you don't think we're going to give him a contract extension. I think you're too down on Will right now.
No. I just think the New York Giants coaching staff might be, and with the way that the cap's looking right now,
what has the coaching staff done that suggests that to you?
I mean, he rolled the bench for the second half of the year.
We're going to write off COVID. We're going to write off COVID.
No, we're not writing off COVID, but there was plenty of weeks that he could have came back to play.
Yeah,
and they chose to keep him on the bench. I have been a proponent of saying
what you are
that
doing now is writing off COVID. Like you saw how one of the best players at his position, and Myles Garrett, looked after it.
Yeah, Myles Garrett.
I don't think it's out of the question they let him sit extra weeks because dude was just not he was just not 100%.
But not being 100% doesn't mean he's worse than Lemieux.
It was a year where they were rotating people at every position anyway, right? So they want to see what they got on Lemieux.
I mean, maybe
they weren't rotating Nick Gates.
All right, let's keep it real. Were you comfortable rotating Nick Gates with anybody else?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. They weren't rotating him.
Yeah, there you go.
He was our best. I mean, him and Zeitler.
There was no other option at center than Nick Gates last year.
And you don't really want to rotate your center. That's kind of bad.
For trouble right there. You know, we were talking about it earlier. With the QB adjusting to the center, you're asking for trouble if you're rotating that guy. Yeah. But yeah, no, I don't know. I feel like I'll say this. He's going to be playing for his life in terms of Will Hernandez this year because he's going to have to play his best year by far to get that contract extension. I think that he can do it, but at the same time, I feel like it's like a combination of two things. I feel like fans expected him to be like an all-pro guard or something because of his good rookie year, but at the same time, I feel like we're being too hard on him in the sense that like because he's had 2 down years, which is fair, where we're saying that he can't be a good guard anymore.
I think people are hard on Will Hernandez because some of the mistakes he makes looks like he's a rookie. Like the miscommunication, like Will Hernandez isn't a horrible offensive lineman. He's not bad at all, and we've seen some bad offensive lines. Will Hernandez is not a bad player, but he makes mistakes that are bad. He makes horrible mistakes because every time a team runs a stunt, Will Hernandez is lost. He's always lost on the stunts. And that's why Lemieux looks so good, because he's not good. He's not better than Hernandez on straight up passing sets, but he's better at him at recognizing stunts. So it's like a rookie is coming in here and he's more aware of what's going on than someone who's supposed to be a veteran at this point.
Right, and that might be why the coaching staff is higher on Lemieux at this point, because they're always proponents of saying, what's that?
If you say draft Rousseau 3 times in a mirror, Diggy will come and kill you.
Yeah, that was funny. But another reason might be because they always talk about having players with high football IQ, right? And if Will Hernandez is, like you said, Diggy, blatantly going out there and missing stunts and being lost, they might know that he is the better overall player, but because he's not the mold that they want on their team, that could be why he's riding the bench.
At that point,
not because of COVID, Hub.
No, at that point, if that's the reasoning from the coaching staff, I would personally lose a bit of faith in them. Because if you're not putting your best player out there, which is what you say you're going to do, then you're not doing
Well,
your
is
job.
he your best player, though?
No,
he might be your best.
I'm going off of what Max is saying. He says if you know that he's your better option at guard and you're not putting him out, then what are you doing as a coach?
Well, I think Max was saying that we know that he's the better as far as just straight up pass blocking and straight up, run blocking, but he's not better at the mental part. And I'm saying, does that make you a better player? Because what if I'm the best at catching?
If you're going to say he's the better player, that means overall he's the better player, right? Both things could be true. Lemieux could be better at the mental side. But if Hernandez is the better overall player, why aren't you putting your better player out there?
But it goes back to what we always say about Evan Engram, right? Everybody hates on Evan Engram, but they always talk about how his issues are mental. You can't teach the mental. So if Will Hernandez is struggling there, they put Lemieux in, who has the mental capability, and they just work on coaching him up through the technique and the physical aspect, because they believe they can make him better than Will Hernandez. And practice makes perfect. So that's the reason why I wouldn't lose faith in our coaching staff.
I'm not taking a chance of him at the left side, though. I'm not willing to take
so you
a chance
move
on him on the
Zeitler?
left side. We don't have Zeitler. What are you talking about?
No, I'm saying last
I think you
year.
meant Hernandez.
I'm saying last year.
Wait, why are we still talking
Lemieux
about
was
last
seeing
year?
the field because Will Hernandez was on the bench.
Oh, no, I'm still riding with it was because of COVID he was on the bench. I'm not riding with anything that as a rookie, Shane Lemieux was better than him, no.
Right, and I'm not saying he was better, but they wanted, like you said, they wanted to see what they had in him, and it had to do with that mental aspect versus the physical aspect, and you can't teach the mental.
So you're saying they wanted to see what they had in him because they saw Shane Lemieux's good mental aspect?
Right, the high football IQ, and they wanted to try to coach the rest.
Yeah, of course I would agree with that, but I would say they want to see what they had in him because they took the guy to be a playable guard that year. I think it's that simple in terms of what they want.
You think the anticipation was for him to play last year as a fifth?
No,
round
I'm saying what
pick?
I'm saying is I expect. Okay, this is what I'm saying. I think they played him because when they took him, they expected him to be a playable guard in the sense they already knew they were going to move on from Zeitler at some point. And he was the next best option at right guard, so they want to see what they had anyway.
Okay.
That's what I mean when I said they want to see what they have in him. And then Will got COVID, Will's knocked out, and they're like, all right, then, we're going to run with Shane.
Right.
And like
I agree
ahead.
with that. I was just saying I agree with that. I mean, it's the same thing with Matt Parrott. I mean, well, he's a third-round pick, so you eventually want your third-round picks to become starters. But there we had a journeyman at right tackle, and then we had a guy at right guard that we thought we probably might have to move on from because of the salary cap. So that's probably why they were getting all of those reps.
Dan Duggan tweeting out the salary caps for next year. Let me check that then. There's a lot of tweets going on right now. Can y'all tag me? Okay, here it is. 10 minutes ago from Dan Duggan. And as I click on it, it gets replaced with a Washington football team post. Amazing. Because Twitter loads as soon as I go to click instead of loading immediately. So now I got to look up Dan Duggan. Okay, here it is. So 2022 cap hits. Williams next year will be $26.5 million. Galladay next year will be $21.2 million. Bradbury will be 20.5. Jackson will be 15.5. Martinez will be 14. Ryan will be 10. Logan Ryan gotta go, bro. And Shepard will be 10. The last two numbers is Sterling Shepard and Logan Ryan. Low key, they might gotta go. What are you guys thinking?
I don't have a problem with Logan Ryan, but Sterling Shepard will be gone.
And that's why I want to draft his replacement somewhere this year. Hopefully in the third round. If not, I definitely look. We have a fourth, right? We just don't have a fifth.
Yeah, the fifth is the
Yeah.
only thing we're missing.
We don't
Yeah,
have a fifth
yeah.
and we don't have a 7.
So if we go past the fourth round and we don't draft a wide receiver who could potentially fill that slot role next year, I'm going to be upset with this draft. I'm not going to be upset with our off season because the free agency was great, right? We didn't expect to be able to do what we did. But if we don't pick up another wide receiver that we think can replace him, and I'm not saying it's going to be a definite that Shepard's gone, but you got to cover your bases. If you choose to let go of him, if you might need to let go of him to fill other needs at that point, you need to have someone on this roster who can fill it. And so I think, especially if you're going that late in the draft, it's important to give that player time to develop before you just throw him in there.
And I'll say this to add on to what you're saying, because I've also been saying don't think that receiver is done. You bring up a good point in terms of this player could potentially be the replacement for Shepard, or he could just be another player that's here when Shepard is not. My whole thing with still drafting a receiver is, in addition to that, all of our receivers currently have an injury history. Some of them are going to be going out, especially not at 17 games, but it's just a fact. Like, it's just going to happen. You're going to have to be really lucky to go through a season where your entire receiving core is healthy. And with our guys, I don't expect that to happen. So some of them are going to go out, one. And two, my second reason is we've always said that this receiving core isn't going to be fixed with just one addition. All we've done is, well, technically 2 additions with John Ross, if you count it.
Well,
but I
Kyle
want
Rudolph's kind of a receiving option
yeah,
too.
I
So
want another meaningful addition. So second or third round is what I'm looking at as well, to get another guy on here. And then it also fulfills, like what you were saying, if Shepard is gone next year, maybe that guy plays in the slot, or maybe somebody else on the roster does, and we still have the drafted one on here.
But yeah, to answer your question, because I kind of danced around it a little bit there. Sterling Shepard, we looked at him, or I have at least, and I know that we save a bunch of money by cutting him next year. I don't know the full Logan Ryan contract deals. If we can save a bunch of money, I think our safety room is deep, and it's more important to sign someone like Jabril Peppers long term than to keep Logan Ryan here for another year or two. So if it comes down to those two, I let Logan Ryan go to keep Peppers around. But yeah, I don't know what the dead cap hit is. Just because he's making $10 million next year doesn't mean that it's cheaper to cut him, because people have been saying cut Shepard this year, but it would cost us more if we cut him this year than if we just kept him on the team because the dead cap hits higher.
If the stadium are at full capacity next year, I don't care about any of these cap hits. But Shepard is probably the person that I would look to probably move on from if we had a cap situation. But I think we should be in good shape. And I mean, Sterling Shepard last year with the full season, if he played the full season, he would have been our leading receiver. He was obviously our best receiver the entire year. So maybe a Galladay comes in and makes Sterling Shepard the number 2 receiver who gets like 1,000 yards. And maybe he's worth, maybe that $10 million is a steal. So I'm not really worried about these numbers. It's just I would rather find a cheap replacement in the draft, just in case Sterling Shepard doesn't do that. And I mean, going back to what you were saying, I've been trying to communicate this because Giants fans, for some reason, are saying we added Kenny Galladay and we added John Ross, who has played, like 6 or 7 games and runs himself out of his hamstrings every other week. We're saying that because we added John Ross and a guy who played 5 games last year to a receiving core where we had Darius Slayton, who played through injury last year and wasn't the same guy. Sterling Shepard, who has had concussion issues, and if he gets a couple more of those, he's going to have to retire. And he just misses games in general by himself. And then you have Saquon Barkley in the backfield, who has been injured. And then you have Kyle Rudolph, who's having foot surgery. Evan Ingram has had injury issues his entire career. I mean, should I keep going? Because we have Dante Pettis, who's dealt with injuries. So our entire receiving core, including the running back, has consistently dealt with injury issues, some, of course, more than others. And for some reason, Giants fans are saying that our receiving core is stacked. We're not stacked if we're not on the field. There's just no way. I just don't see it, man. I just do not trust this receiving core, because most NFL teams, your number 1 receiver is going to miss like 1 or 2 games. It just happens all the time. So we need to get as many weapons as we can on a team where everybody's injury prone. It seems like. I mean, I don't want them to get injured. Obviously, I want them to all play the entire season, but we have to be realistic.
Who are you looking at in the second or third?
People have been telling me about Elijah Moore. I haven't looked at that much of his tape. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Of course, I would like Terrace Marshall if he fell to us in the second round, but after that 40, he probably is going to go first round. I mean, I like a couple of the receivers. I like Diami Brown, maybe in the third round. I like he said Elijah Moore. Did I accidentally say Elijah Mitchell?
No, you said Elijah Moore. And by the way, peace
Okay.
out to Joseph. Thank you for tuning in, man. Great mod, great supporter.
But yeah, there's receivers that I think could play that slot role. There's a lot of those. I think there's a lot of people say that this receiving core is really deep, and I agree with it. But I believe that a lot of these receivers are second receivers. And Kenny Golladay, he has the injury things, and he's never played. He hasn't really proven that he's a premier top 5 receiver in the league. So I don't want any more number 2 receivers. This is why I say I want Waddle if he's sitting there. It just seems like we're.
I mean,
do
you need a top 5 receiver in the league?
I think I would want one.
You would want one, but do you need one? The word you used was need, right?
I would rather have a top 5 receiver and a top 20 tackle than a top 5 tackle and a top 20 receiver.
No, but what I'm saying is for this offense to work, I don't think we need a top 5 receiver for this offense to work.
I don't trust Jason Garrett.
Let me ask you, do you think Dez was a top 5 back in his time?
I do think he was.
Top 5?
And his offense, for what they asked him to do, I think he was top 5.
Who was the guy you listed,
I don't
Max?
think Dez.
What's that?
Oh, you said Dez. Okay, then. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think Dez could go to any team in the league and be the same guy. But I think for what they asked him to do in that offense, I think he was a top 5 receiver. He was. Now, like I said, if we had Pat Shurmur and he was still running this offense, then I would feel fine. I would be like, we have more than enough weapons. But this offense is literally like you run your route and you beat your man. There's no creativity. There's no routes working off of each other. So I want elite receivers because these guys aren't cutting it, man. They can't do that. We're not using our brains designing these routes.
To give you some hope, I do think that no matter how this year turns out, if we are a great offense, a great team, and we go deep into the playoffs and try to make a run at the Super Bowl even, I think Garrett gets a head coaching offer. If we are really bad and this offense does terrible,
wait, which
I think
team is going to be
fired.
like, yo, I'm going to offer Jason Garrett a head coaching job?
I think Jason Garrett
man.
is going to be replaced after about week 4, week 5 by Freddie Kitchens.
Ooh, that soon?
Jason Garrett might not even
the season.
Yeah, I give him the season. I agree with Max.
Jason Garrett might not even make it to the preseason. I'm telling you,
he might not be the one actually making the play calls, but they're not going to fire him midseason. That's just not what the Giants do. They'll keep him on the staff. And if he isn't the actual offensive coordinator, you won't know it until the season's over.
And you know what, Diggy? You know how we're known at? If all of a sudden we just see a complete change in the plays.
Like I said, when I was saying that I don't think he'll make it to the preseason, that's what I mean. I think we literally might go through training camp and we might go through the offseason and Joe Judge is going to watch what plays are being installed and what's happening. And I think we might literally get to a point where Jason Garrett is, because I've seen some good plays in his playbook. He just doesn't use them. So I don't know why he doesn't use them.
I got a question for you.
I wouldn't be
Do you think Jason Garrett wants to be here?
Yeah, I think Jason Garrett loves the Giants.
Are you sure?
I think this is his dream job as an offensive coordinator. I think this is his dream job.
Because, I don't know. Maybe it's just because the way he speaks to the media, I don't get that sort of feel from him. You know, like when you do with the other coaches, we always hear it's like they want to be here and the players even. But then again, we've only seen him speak to the media, one time? Which was
and Jason Garrett's just kind of a monotone guy in general.
Yeah.
Even as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and all of his press conferences and all of his interviews, he's just like this stone-faced dude who just speaks what's on his mind and moves on to the next question. He rarely will get excited in front of the media.
Do you think he wants to be here? Diggy saying yes. What about you?
I think he definitely wanted the job last year. I think maybe losing his say a little bit in the offensive line coach and definitely seeing the fact that Freddie Kitchens is getting
That's
an
what I'm
increased
thinking.
role could make him a little worried, but I'm not necessarily thinking it makes him not want to be here.
Okay.
It might knock his confidence a little bit. But yeah, I still think he's got a lot of respect for the organization and the Mara family. He played here when he was playing, right? He started.
That's a really good point right there.
Yeah.
That's a really
going
good point.
going back to what I was saying, I just wanted to finish that point. I think Jason Garrett. I'm basically saying I think that there could be some point in this offseason where Jason Garrett designs all of the plays, and we just get an announcement that's saying that Freddie Kitchens is going to be doing the play calling, and Jason Garrett will be like up in the box or something, doing advisory things and doing the actual play design. Because I think Jason Garrett is a great mentor to have for Daniel Jones. I think he's the perfect like actual coach, fundamental coach. I just don't think that he's good at play design, or at least using the good plays that he has.
Now, let me ask you this, Diggy, because you were talking about Pat Shurmur and his offense, and obviously you like his playbook or what he called on the field better than what we saw on the field last year from Jason Garrett. But you also said Jason Garrett is the perfect mentor for Daniel Jones and a young quarterback. Well, Pat Shurmur is also known for developing young quarterbacks. Who would you rather have in here just as someone to develop Daniel Jones? Not necessarily the playbook, but you came out and said you think Jason Garrett is perfect for that. Do you think he's better than Pat Shurmur at developing young quarterbacks?
I think Jason Garrett is probably better at instilling I would say Jason Garrett is probably the better coach at instilling confidence into Daniel Jones as far as like just from the head up. But I would say Pat Shurmur is probably better at instilling confidence in Daniel Jones by giving him plays that will help him get into a rhythm. Because the preseason, Pat Shurmur like coached like a no-hitter. Like Pat Shurmur called like all beautiful plays for Daniel Jones, all on time, all working off of each other, like all beautiful plays that Daniel Jones executed perfectly. And we didn't see that from Jason Garrett. We saw I feel like Jason Garrett is a great motivator, but I feel like when you get on the field and you're running his offense, Daniel Jones is starting to see that Jason Garrett doesn't have any faith in me, because that's what it looked like.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say what Max was saying about Garrett was pretty good in terms of being worried, but not necessarily not wanting to be here, and I agree with that a lot. I think he's worried. I still gotta. I don't know if he necessarily wants to be here, but I wouldn't be surprised if he does. Like Diggy was saying, like it could be his dream job. But the reason I brought up is because I'm like, if he's worried or if he's not wanting to be here as much as he used to, that affects how much effort he's going to put into his job. And I think right now, his job is being decided right now, depending on how much he's spending time in the lab, creating these plays and trying to tweak this offense a little bit, or even just use a completely different offense. Because to be honest with you, what we saw last year is not what we're used to seeing from him.
Right.
So it's like, it all depends on how much effort he's putting in right now.
Yeah, and to talk about our coordinators and going into next year, because I kind of gave my opinion on Jason Garrett and how I think either way he's probably gone. If it's bad, he's fired. If it's good, he gets hired. But a real possibility that I'm kind of scared about moving into next year is if this team does really well. I know Patrick Graham got paid, and he said this is his dream job. But it's a real possibility we lose both our offensive and defensive coordinator next year if this team does really, really well, and that kind of scares me.
Didn't we extend Pat Graham?
Yeah, but that doesn't mean he wouldn't get another offer after this season.
Okay, but yeah, no, if Pat Graham is gone, yeah. I'm gonna cry because I don't know how.
I think he's gonna be gone. I think he's gonna be gone. We're gonna replace him with hopefully somebody in this tree. Hopefully someone on the staff right now, maybe Coach Chaos. Maybe I was about to say,
who's in the Pat Graham tree, or did you mean like somebody that's in the staff right now?
No, somebody on staff right now. I think it'll be Coach Chaos or somebody, hopefully. I mean, that's what happens. You want your defensive and offensive coordinators to get hired because if they're not, we think about our offensive and defensive coordinators. Who's gotten hired to a head coaching position over the past 10 years? Nobody, because they've sucked. They're not good. So, I mean, look at Ben McAdoo. He's like the quality control person and for the Jaguars last year.
That hair just gets me, man. I don't
like you want them to be higher, and I'm not worried about that because we saw it with the Seahawks for years and years. They had their great defense, and then Dan Quinn left, and then someone else stepped up, and then someone else stepped up. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, Pat Graham, of course, gives you a next level step up, but I think the defensive staff that we have, they're going to be good enough to make up for it whenever he gets hired somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. And I agree with you there. I do want to say this right now. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I just got baited on Twitter.
Let's
I'm
see
scrolling
it.
through
Let's
Twitter to
see
keep
it.
up. No, you guys. I don't know if you guys are Halo fans. So I don't know if you would get it.
Oh.
But yeah, it was like a fake Halo account.
Halo
saying that,
5 thing?
It's
Halo
Infinite
5 thing?
6. Halo 6, right? So it was saying it's delayed again until summer 2022. I was like, you're lying to me. Then I scrolled down and the official Halo account commented that's bait. Like, that's not us. I'm like, all right, bet. Okay, I got caught for a second there. I was like,
So
oh,
you're an Xbox guy, Hub?
yeah, I'm a big Halo fan. Like, Halo was the very first video game I ever played back on like my very first PC because that was the first game. So that was in like 2007, but the first game came out in 2000. But I had it on the PC, right? And then as the years went on, I just went through and played it. Speaking of Xbox, bro, I had a chance to get the Series X today. Y'all already know both consoles are just sold out continuously in every store.
That's ridiculous, man.
There's a Target that just opened up, like a couple blocks away from me, and I wasn't even there for the Series X. But I said to myself, it's a small one. It's like one of the smallest Targets I've ever been in. It's brand new. I was like, let me ask them, you guys got it? Man walks out with it in hand, puts it in my hand. I am shocked. I am perplexed. I am astounded. I'm like, I did not expect you guys to actually have it in stock, and I am not prepared to buy this right now. I'm so sad that I have to not buy it because I know it's going to be gone the next time, like when I'm actually prepared to get it. I was like, they're not going to have it, but I'm just going to ask. I held it in my hand. I could have purchased it and walked out and finally gotten my Series X. But, I wasn't prepared to do that. And
so let me ask you, Hub.
Yeah, I just want to say for any younger people, that's what adulting is, bro. Sometimes you just can't do it. I'm like, it's gonna be gone. Then when I am gonna be ready to get it, it's gonna be gone.
Going back to the Halo talk, what's your favorite Halo game of all time? Because I used to play Halo when
Halo
I was younger.
2.
I had an Xbox. Yeah, Halo 2 I thought was the best game,
not
but
Halo
I have
2,
the best memories
Halo 2
playing Halo
Anniversary,
3.
Bro. Halo 2
Yeah,
Anniversary.
everybody has the best, man.
Halo 2 Anniversary, in my opinion, is by far, and it's not close to the best Halo game, but I would agree with you. The funnest Halo game is Halo 3.
Oh, yeah.
And that has...
Especially that little designer thing.
Yes.
Where you build your own map, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Valhalla was my favorite map on that.
It's the funnest because it also has the funnest campaign. Like, there's so many sections in 3 where you're just using the vehicles. Like, I could think of so many levels where you're using the vehicles, but then, of course, it's not just the campaign. Like, multiplayer for Halo 3 was, like, legendary.
And listen, y'all can look up my gamer tag. I'm in the Halo Hall of Fame, man.
Ooh.
I'm telling. I mean, I don't. That's not an actual thing, but I'm just saying my stats on Halo were ridiculous. And you used to be able to go on their site and look at people's game. I don't know if you can still do it, but
back in the day, I actually used to be really good at Call of Duty. I tried picking up a controller a year ago, and I was trash. I got too used to keyboard and mouse now. But back in World at War, Modern Warfare 2 days, it was getting to the point where, like, if you guys have heard of like Control Freaks, they were like a starting up company.
Oh
back
yeah,
then.
man.
They were a starting up company back then, and the team that I ended up getting on got sponsored by them. We had like GFX sponsors. We were playing in small level tournaments. I was actually really good at Call of Duty back then. But yeah, I tried recently, and it's just nope.
Yeah, I used to really like. People used to always message me like, "Oh, great, you're using a modded controller." I'm like, I'm not even using one. Like, I'm just that good.
No, I'm just good, bro. Like,
get that middle finger twitch going.
Exactly. You just responded, "Get good, scrub." But yeah, Benny, I might bring this back. Some of my viewers knew it because I used to stream playing Halo. I started with on the channel, at least. I started with 2 Anniversary because I was building up to Halo Infinite. I was like, I'm gonna play each of the games, and this was before it was delayed the first time, so it was supposed to come out winter last year. And I was like, all right, I'm gonna play all the games, just basically get back up in it. I was going through all 5, and I was like, I should stream this on the channel. So I started with 2. Played through the entirety of 2 on the channel. It's still up, I think. And then I did 3, and I stopped like halfway through 3 because then it got delayed to now December of this year. And I was like, all right, well, like I got time. So yeah. Patrick T saying, you talking about his daddy Jerry Jones. Trying to do anything to bash the Giants. Worry about your own team. Oh, is this a response to somebody else?
Probably.
Oh yeah, it's a response to Bobby Murphy. So we got Patrick T and Bobby Murphy, who's a great supporter, even though he's an
Feuding in
Eagles
the
fan
chat.
out here. You know what I'm saying? Joel says you have no idea the struggle that Pong. Isn't Pong like the very first video game?
Yeah,
It was
it
on the
is.
Atari when I was like 13, right? I had already had an Xbox for a couple of years. It was back when the 360 was still the newest Xbox. My parents got an Atari for like family nights because they wouldn't get into the first-person shooter games with me. But Atari was what they played it when they were younger. So we got an Atari. We used to sit in the living room and play Pong. It's basically just these I don't know, these two sliders that
It's
go up and
definitely
down on each
I think
side
it's
and a
the
ball that
first
just
home
bounces.
game, right?
It is the
Probably.
first game, yeah.
That's pretty cool. I mean, speaking of 360, I have the one right now, but in order for me to get the one, I had to sell my 360. Once again, another hard decision.
I still have mine.
I sometimes I regret selling it, bro. I made so many memories with the 360, and honestly, it's like I think it's one of the greatest consoles of all time. I was like, I should have kept it, man. It's
To
one
me,
of, not
between
the.
that, to me, it's between that and the because I went from the PS2 to the 360. Yeah.
A lot of people I know, they went from the PS2 to the 360 to the PS4. That's how it
PS2
usually
throwback.
goes.
Do you guys remember the what was it? Oh god, that mini camera that like the first like physical interactive games on
Kinect
PlayStation
or something?
Was it
Oh,
called
no,
the
wait.
Kinect? No,
No,
that was
It
on
was
Xbox.
something else.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm talking about though? I used to
Yeah, I know
play
exactly
that
what
karate
you're talking
game like
about.
no other. But Hub, you also seem like a guy who could kill it in some Smash. Are you a Smash guy?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, but I'm terrible at Smash.
What?
All my friends are like elite at Smash Bros, bro. I play Smash, and I've considered getting a Switch, but I don't play it that often enough. I do have a 3DS though. Like I have
Man,
a
I
3DS
want to get a Nintendo Switch so bad.
You guys
It's-
should,
it's
because
good.
me and KB were talking and we wanted to get a content creator Smash tournament going.
If
I'm
we
awful
get
at it now, but I used
Yeah.
to be great at it.
if we do that, I just borrow one of my friends. I'll be like, yo, can I borrow this
Okay.
for like a couple of days? And
Yeah,
they'd be
yeah.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
But no, I have a 3DS because back in like middle school and like freshman year high school, bro, that was how you would game with your friends. You know what I'm saying, bro? But I am
Smash
elite.
Melee. Oh.
I am elite at Mario Kart. Nobody has yet to like literally beat me in like a three race thing in Mario Kart. I will stand by that. I am elite in Mario Kart. I am elite in Mario Party as well. Mario Party is a
Oh, yeah.
super underrated game, by
I've
the way,
never
for
played
anybody in
Mario
the chat.
Party.
I've
It's
never
so
played
fun.
it either.
It's so fun. It's a really underrated game. But Smash Bros, I'm absolute trash at, bro. I don't know why. I'm just not good at melee games. It's just I can't do it. Even like I play Brawlhalla as well. I don't know if you know the PC game Brawlhalla. Can't do it. I don't know why. I'm just bad at melee
What
games.
about Street Fighter and
I'm good at
Mortal
I'm good at
Kombat?
Mortal Kombat. I'm good at Injustice.
I hate those
Tekken.
games, man.
I don't know. I've
Tekken.
played more. I don't know if I played Street Fighter, Tekken. I used to have Tekken because this Xbox came with it. I'm pretty good with those.
Yeah, so
Look at Nate
Diggy,
in
you
the
said you
chat.
used to be pretty decent in Smash
Smash
Bros. So
Bros.
who's your main back in the day?
I used to use why am I forgetting that name? You know the girl that goes from like a princess, Samus or something.
A princess? Nah, Samus is
She used
just
to
elite.
go.
Yeah,
No,
she has the
she used to go
Metro.
from
Samus is the robot.
Yeah,
has
she
the
goes
Metroid
to the
basically.
robot
Okay,
and then
yeah.
she transforms into like a
Nate,
princess.
Yeah,
If
and then
you
there's
think-
Zero Suit Samus.
Nate, if
Yeah.
you think Mario Party is 100% luck, then you're not elite at it, bro. That's all I'm gonna say.
Oh
The Mario
gosh.
Party ain't just 100% luck, bro. There's strategies to it, my guy.
Bro, back in the Melee days, there was no beating the Fox up kick, bro. I would
Yeah.
pick Fox and I would just smash that C button directly up
And I would
over
use
and over.
I would use the little kid with the baseball cap.
Ness.
Oh, yeah, Ness,
Ness,
right?
yes. Oh man, I was.
You know who's super hard to use?
Who's
Mr.
that?
Jump and Watch. I can't figure out how to use him.
Game and Watch? Yeah,
Game
yeah.
and Watch, yeah.
Oh wait, this is an underrated game. Ceden Smith in the chat said Rome Total War. I
What
don't
kind
know
is
if you
it?
guys played that game, but it's like
I've
a
heard of it.
strategy game. I played in like middle school.
RTS?
That game was really it was.
I
lit.
love
Rome Total
RTS,
War.
bro.
It was Rome Total War.
Love RTS, bro. RTS, any RTS game, I would also. You ever played Civ?
No, I didn't play it though. I've seen it, but I haven't played it.
Any of the Civ games, bro, like Civ 3, Civ 4, Civ 5, they're like legendary, really good to play.
But Rome Total War, man, that game was lit.
This man
play
said, you kind of admit it right there. There's smart decision and stupid decision. There's a slow skill cap. Listen, All I'm gonna say is I have like a 80% win rate at Mario Party.
It's like
bro.
those people that say that they're great at Monopoly, but they're rolling dice.
Of course, there's a little bit a little bit of probability at it because you are literally rolling the dice, but there's a lot of decisions to make in it. You know what items you buy, what items you give up, who you trying to cheat, bro. And then there's mini games in Mario Party as well. So you could have all the worst rolls, but if you just elite at the mini games, which I am elite at the mini games, it doesn't matter how you roll. You're gonna win the game.
Yeah. I used to be really good at Xenoverse too. I haven't played that in like 2 years.
I know that from somewhere.
Dragon Ball Z, Xenoverse.
Oh yeah, that's why.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yo, all the Z Fighter games are the same, man.
That was pretty. The best Dragon Ball game by far, hands down, is Budokai Tenkaichi 3. That was the best Dragon Ball game by far.
When did that one come out?
Like maybe 2004 or 2005 or something.
Oh, okay. That's from a while ago. That's from a generation of games where like it wasn't just button mashing and then
it was PS2. It was PS2.
The PS2,
and it was, I think it was on GameCube too.
Bro, the PS2, Xbox, and PS3, Xbox 360 era is the best era for fighting games in my opinion because like they weren't animation based. You actually had to know a little bit of the controls and whatnot. It sort of died out with this past generation.
Like you get caught, like you get caught in animations now. That didn't used to happen.
Mm-hmm. The same thing with Madden.
I'm trying to think of when
Madden
this game got really
animation game now. It's not physics anymore.
The first fighting game I remember playing. Oh, go ahead, Diggy. Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like the 2K football games were elite. Those were good games.
Oh yeah. The first like
Risk
fight, the first like fighting game I remember playing was WWE. I don't remember what year, but it was on the
SmackDown versus Raw.
It was on
SmackDown versus Raw.
PS1, bro. PS1.
What do you mean, Bring the Pain?
Oh
Something
no, that
like
was
that.
probably SmackDown Bring the Play, and then yeah,
Yeah,
it could have been Bring the Pain, and then there was another one just called WrestleMania. That was my favorite one because you used to like fight on top of buildings and stuff. Yeah.
There was multiple because they made one at one point. Well, up until they started making the SmackDown versus Raw games, they used to make the yearly WrestleMania games.
Man, those games were amazing, man.
Are they still coming out with SmackDown versus Raw?
Oh yeah,
is that a thing?
No, it's a different.
It's called 2K
now.
owns it now, and it's not as good anymore because 2K owns it now. Yeah, hold on. Hi, Sabrina. All right. Yeah, but no, SmackDown versus Raw games, bro. They're absolutely elite. They were like most of my childhood, and the soundtracks on SmackDown versus Raw they introduced me to so many rock
tier,
bands.
man.
Top tier, bro. It's amazing.
You're getting called out right now, Hub.
Shout out to Engraven in here, and then Mike Nixon for the $2 super chat. He says, "Kush, you wouldn't be able to beat me in any WWE game." It depends. It depends because, like we were saying with like Madden, 2K, and all that. Now they are also a lot of animation based, so it's easier for you
can just spam animations now.
Yeah, I could spam animations and beat you. If we're talking SVR is a fair fight even for a beginner versus an expert, bro. That's why it's so fun. It's always gonna be a fair fight.
Yeah.
And I've always wanted to try streaming either SVR or I have 2K19 WWE on my Xbox. So I've always wanted to try streaming it, but I didn't know if many people would be interested in it.
I don't know about you guys.
Back to No Mercy.
Man. No Mercy. I'll tell you right now. No Mercy, Here Comes the Pain, and SVR 07 are like regarded as the top three of all time.
Legendary. SmackDown versus Raw 2007.
Diggy just got so excited.
Man. It was legendary.
Nah, tell the people why, bro, because I talk about it all the time. Tell the people why you find it legendary, bro.
It was just the gameplay was legendary. At that point, the graphics were legendary.
And they had a good roster too.
The roster was crazy. They had like ECW on there.
Yeah, I think that was the first year they had ECW.
Crazy, man. That game was crazy, and I think that was before they let you. Could you create finishing moves at that point? I think that might have been before that.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
But that game was crazy, and then trying to think of something else, but I forgot it. But that game was crazy, man.
Bro, the career mode.
When it came to WWE, I never had any more fun playing that game than one. If I'm playing solo, it has to be the Elimination Chamber matches. I love the Elimination Chambers.
Elimination
that was
Chamber
the most fun
and Royal Rumble, bro.
Oh yeah, but when you had friends playing with you, that's when you jump in the Royal Rumbles. Those are the two most.
The original God of War, bro. I haven't played the PS4 one yet, but I could tell it's like a different vibe. But the original
Yeah.
God of War for like the PS3 and
Those games
PSP
were so
as well.
good, man.
Legends. Have you guys ever played the new one? I heard it's different.
No, I
So
haven't.
I don't know.
No.
But one thing about SmackDown versus Raw is like if you go on YouTube, the only thing that popped up was this glitch helps you get into the crowd. This is how you get into the crowd. Everybody wanted to get in the crowd, and there was always like a suplex off of the top rope glitch where you would just end up being able to fight in the crowd and fight in the parking lot and stuff.
Nah, man. Man, bro. The Elimination Chamber matches were fun, and Graven is saying, you know they changed the Elimination Chamber?
I don't even know anything about the WWE
It's
now.
so
I just saw that they were billing Randy Orton against some lady named Alexa Bliss, and I just saw like her like shoot a fireball at him.
I saw like Christians making a return or something too.
No,
huh?
that's on AEW.
Oh,
Yeah, that's
why
a
I'm
different.
like,
That's
if-
Cody Rhodes' company.
Yeah. If you actually like wrestling and you want a to be fair, just a better product, AEW is the way. I watch AEW now. It's the way
Yeah?
to go. Yeah.
That's
It's like
hilarious, man.
they actually in terms of technique wrestle better, and they have a better storylines as well.
That's sad.
Yeah.
I mean,
It's
that's
smaller.
WWE
It
was
it
the
just
best,
started. It started like only
Yeah.
a year and a half ago, but it's really good.
there was nothing like a Friday night after finishing school for the week, coming home and turning on that SmackDown and just watching stuff
Yo,
And
go
man,
down.
I'm glad we're all in agreement that SmackDown is greater than Raw, bro. SmackDown was
Remember the
always
Great
greater than Raw.
Khali popped Rey Mysterio's head?
He's like bleeding, bro. Bro, as a kid, I was
He's
yo.
like
he just
spitting
killed
out
Ray,
strawberry
bro.
syrup and stuff out of his
Bro,
mouth.
I was convinced they just killed the man on live TV. I was like, there's no way that happened.
Those are the most legendary memories. Like I would say the Rey Mysterio one was one. The other one was when the Undertaker had just won some belt, and then Mark Henry came out and like beat him down.
Yeah.
The worst I've ever seen anybody get beat down before. And then the same thing with Matt Hardy when his appendix burst. And I think his appendix really burst in real life. But that was crazy.
I'll
man.
always have respect for WWE wrestlers because obviously it's fake. Like when you go and you tell a fan like it's fake, it's like, yeah, bro, we know.
Yeah, it's a
But, like-
storyline, but it
Yeah.
still hurts.
Like the way people don't look at it because they're like, oh my god, they're really fun. No, people look at it because it's a TV show that you tune in weekly to watch and see what
Right.
happens. And yes, there's a little bit of barbaricness to it because we like to see violence. But yeah, these dudes are getting hurt. Like Triple H, he's one of my favorites of all time. When he tore his quad in the middle of the match and he finished the match, and he had to go out for like 8 months to a year, bro. Like they get hurt.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Check out Engraven's comment there.
Yeah, he said not fake.
Facts.
It's scripted because the injuries are real, bro.
Facts.
Like Edge
Facts.
had to retire because this man was gonna die if he continued to
And
wrestle.
just think about it though. What other athletes have to be top tier athletes and they have to be top tier actors?
Nate, don't try to school me on WWE. Triple H tore both of his quads in 2 different occasions. I'm referring to his quad injury, and the
He
quad
did
injury
because
was the
he
one I
never
was talking
shut
about
up
where he
about it.
continued the match. Yeah.
And he never
But
shut up about it.
Speaking of all these like old wrestlers, did you guys see the recent video that came out where Kane got the phone call
From the Undertaker?
telling him that from the Undertaker, telling him he made it into the Hall of Fame, dude?
Yeah.
Like real emotions came back. Like I haven't watched WWE in forever, but just watching like these guys tear up talking about making the Hall of Fame, I was like, these were like my idols as a kid,
Like,
bro.
by the way,
And real
Kane-
quick, Nate,
by the
this
way,
is why he's one
Kane,
of my
the mayor.
favorites. Every time he got injured, he finished the match, and he's just in general one of the best workers of all time.
Who?
Triple H, I was saying, like every
Oh,
time
yeah.
he got injured, he finished the match before he went to the hospital.
Yeah. Like I said, Kane, by the way, is a mayor now. That's the
Knoxville
funniest
County.
thing to me. Exactly. Like
Yeah.
he's a mayor.
Exactly. No, bro. I'm Kane also, and I was talking about my friends with this literally the other day. I'm like, yo, when he was in his prime, that dude was a monster. He had machine guns for arms, bro, and he was athletic. I remember Kane doing a drop kick, bro, and a kip up. And like, what is he like 6'11"? He was like 328, pure muscle.
Yeah.
Was he popping steroids? Maybe, but he was a monster, bro.
It doesn't matter.
And they never build him correctly, in my opinion. If they built that man correctly, he would have been an absolute, like, even more legendary than he is.
And wait, and Engraven made a good comment. Do you guys know who Kane was before Glenn Jacobs? Do you know who he was?
Wasn't he the dentist character?
He was not who Glenn Jacobs was, who Kane was. Do you know who Kane was with the mask?
Kane
He
with
would-
the
Lost
mask is Kane.
explain.
No. That was Glenn Jacobs, but Kane, before he took off the mask, was Festus from Jesse and Festus. That was Festus.
Yeah, no. It was Glenn Jacobs all the time. Festus filled in for him when Glenn Jacobs was injured.
Yeah, that's what I mean. It was really Festus wearing the Kane mask. That's the most hilarious thing to me.
If you're talking about for like the 6 years he wore the mask, it wasn't for 6 years. I'm pretty sure that was just for like when they started out the character.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think Glenn Jacobs took over most of it, even with the mask.
That whole story though, with like Kane and Undertaker being brothers, and they show the clips of like them in a burning car.
Yeah, y'all remember when Kane debuted and he ripped the door off the Hell in a Cell, bro? Listen, you can't do that to a character and then not have him be OP in every other scenario.
Yeah.
All right, so Hub, let me ask you, favorite WWE wrestler or group of all time?
I'm gonna give a couple because I've really been fluctuating. Not at like I don't watch it as much anymore. I always think back about on it. The two that always come to mind to me, Triple H. I already talked about him. As a kid growing up, I was always a fan of him because at that point he was in his face run. He was a good guy, but he's also I think probably the best bad guy of all time in WWE history. He's like the best heel no matter what. So Triple H is up there. Undertaker is up there. Because when I was a kid, I was a big fan of Triple H. My sister was a big fan of Undertaker, and so like I got into him, and well, he's probably the most legendary wrestler of all time. Like everybody knows who Undertaker is.
You think more than Hulk Hogan?
At this point, yeah. I think at this point, yeah. And then next is a guy that I used to absolutely hate, but when I go back and look at it, I'm like, he literally carried the company for years, even though I hated the fact that they built him as Superman. Yes, John Cena has to be up there. It's like purely a respect thing. And like that's another person.
And then he actually came out with like rap CDs.
Well, no, he was a good rapper.
He was doing that.
He was a good rapper, bro. We talking about Cena back in like from 02 to 06 because that was his character, the rapper. Go and listen. I'm gonna tell you guys this. Diggy, I'm gonna tell you this. Go and listen to the My Time Is Now album. You'll find yourself surprised.
Listen to it. That's why I laughed. But
it's not a great album, but considering it's a guy that never did it before, I'm like, it's not bad.
John Cena, I really loved his character when he was like the rapper. I did not like the whole like they tried. First off, they tried to make it almost seem like he served in the military. Like that's all he did was act like he was in the military. So like
that was for the Marine movie.
Yeah, that was. But I liked his first character. He was a lot more entertaining.
Everybody
what they did to him.
Everybody loved him more as Dr. Thugonomics, bro. Doctor of Thugonomics.
This is basic Thugonomics.
Yeah. For me, if I have to pick a group, though, I think I'm going with the Evolution group, just because the combination of Randy Orton, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Batista. Oh my gosh! Or wait, was Shawn Michaels ever part of Evolution, or was that just Ric Flair?
Yeah, he was.
No, he wasn't. He wasn't. It was
Triple H.
It was Triple H, Batista.
Randy Orton, right?
And Ric Flair, yeah.
And Ric Flair, that was it.
Woo!
Bro, listen, I'll tell you this, bro. Evolution is a mystery. Four changes that you can see. Yo,
Triple H loves that band, man. Triple H loves Motorhead, yeah.
Motorhead
Triple H loves them.
I got into Motorhead. Well, not into it, but I listened to some of their music specifically because of age. And tell me this, I know we all thought the same thing, bro. I thought as a kid, Triple H sang his own theme song. I thought he was in the booth, like going growling, like I am the game.
I thought it was him, and then he would walk out with the water bottle and spit the water in the air.
So whose entrance was more iconic? Triple H with the water spitting, or Steve Austin with the beer can smash?
Well, he wouldn't enter with the beer can.
When he would always get up on. He would
always get it from the audience.
Yeah, he would know when he would celebrate a win with his beer, but he wouldn't.
Yeah,
I thought he came out.
He would put out a hand from the. Yeah, he would put out his hand, and someone from the audience would throw him a beer
on his entrance too, right?
No, not on his entrance.
No,
I can guarantee you that.
Oh, okay.
The guy who used to do it on his entrance. The guy who used to do it on his entrance was Sandman.
Mm-hmm.
Sandman used to come out with a beer and a kendo stick and hit himself in the face until he bled.
Yeah, he'd be like,
and like smash the beer on his face. ECW was legendary. That was crazy.
But I didn't even get to finish my list, bro. To finish off my list, so it's H, Taker, Cena, and one other guy that's recently jumped up there. That I wish stuck with the company, because if he did, who knows where we'd be today? The Rock, bro. The Rock is the best person on the mic ever.
When you're talking about most iconic wrestlers of all time, I mean, what he's become outside of
currently the
wrestling
highest
might
paid
make him
actor of all time.
Yeah, and because
Yeah.
of that, he might be the most iconic wrestler of all time. Just
You
because
you
of
guys
what
remember
he's
the
made of
Icon
it
versus
afterwards.
Icon match, bro? Hulk Hogan versus Rock, WrestleMania.
Yeah.
That's an amazing match, bro.
I would say my top wrestlers would be number one, Undertaker, a close second, Stone Cold.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah. Stone Cold's up there too for me, for sure.
Yeah, a close second, Stone. It used to be hilarious when Vince McMahon would get mad and then he would just get stunned. And then when he stunned the entire McMahon family. That
Bro,
was the
when you
one that
hear
was
the
hilarious.
glass shatter, you know it's about to go down, bro.
Yeah, so those two are my top two. I like DX as far as you're asking about groups. And I probably like the Hardy Boys. I like them as a kid, but
I mean, Jeff
I would
Hardy
probably say
was a beast when I was growing up, bro.
Jeff Hardy, man. He didn't care what happened to his body.
It
at
was
all.
literally if it wasn't for drugs, I'll say this right now, Super Cena wouldn't exist because in like the 2008 2009 era where he was getting real popular,
Everybody was wearing the Jeff Hardy
yeah,
sleeves.
he was more popular than Cena. Like they even said it by like sales wise, he sold a lot
Oh,
more merch.
shout
Like
out to
Hardy, if it wasn't for drugs, would have been up there.
Bobby Murphy. Said Big Papa Pump was man.
You know who else though? And this is more of a recent guy and this is where you get into WWE being a bad company now. CM Punk had a great run as a technical wrestler, but he was he was also the best dude on the mic since The Rock, and they like just absolutely screwed him over, and he hasn't been in wrestling. Like the dude is so legendary. It's more recent. So I don't know if you stopped watching wrestling at that point, Diggy. It was like around 2011 to 2014 time. He's so legendary that they still chant his name in arenas today, CM Punk, to bring him back.
Wow.
Now, with that being said, we said our favorite wrestlers of all time. Who was the female wrestler when you guys were younger that you just had the biggest crush on? Mine was Trish Stratus.
I had
Trish
multiple.
Stratus.
That was everybody. That was everybody, I think.
You could go, Diggy. Then I'll say multiple. I mean, you guys already know I'm down bad on Twitter. So.
I think that was everybody. I think Tori Wilson had like the pillow fight lingerie thing.
It was a different era, bro. It was a different era.
I used to sneak and play like the version of the wrestling game that had like the lingerie thing as a little kid. I said lingerie, but the lingerie match. I used to sneak and play that as a kid. I think that was Tori Wilson that did it.
So I'm gonna list off as many that I can remember. Obviously, Trish Stratus, Tori Wilson, they're like absolute goats. Okay, absolute goats. Stacy Keibler, even though I don't know if she was a wrestler, she had the secretary role. I don't know if she actually wrestled.
No, she was a wrestler. Yeah, she didn't do it for long.
I bet. I know. I see that the rant saying Lita. I never felt Lita that much.
That Lita and Edge
she cheated on Matt Hardy with Edge, bro. I was like, no, I can't rock with it, bro. I was like, how you gonna do that? You know what's terrible is it happened in real life, and then they incorporated it in the storyline. When I learned that later, I was like, yo, they really did Matt Hardy dirty, bro.
Yeah.
They brought his personal life
crazy,
into the story,
man.
but it made for great story, right? But yeah, so Stacy Keibler, Tori Wilson, Trish Stratus. I don't know if you guys remember her. Man, what's her name? She was the one that beat Trish at WrestleMania.
Mickie James.
Yeah,
Ooh,
Mickie James.
That was a good one. That's a good
that
one.
was the GOAT back then for me.
She actually could wrestle too. Like in a time where they couldn't really wrestle.
Don't.
Yeah.
You getting a Diggy beatbox up in here?
And
that was her theme song.
There's one more. What you call it? One more. Her name begins with an M too. I can't remember. And she was a model before she became a wrestler.
Oh, Melina? No, not Melina. Maurice.
Not Maurice. Maurice is Mrs. Wife.
Oh, okay. I don't know who you're talking about then.
It begins with an M. I can't remember. Let me look it up, bro. Oh my god.
Emmanuel Boogeyman. I remember that dude. When they first
I am the Boogeyman.
That whole like clock and eating worms thing, I was like, what the heck's going on?
Yeah, that was creepy.
But I saw someone mention a little bit earlier too. They were talking about.
They said Marlena.
Marlena? I don't think so.
Joel said Kelly.
Nah. I'm going through it right
Sable
now.
was another one.
Oh, I know
Oh
who
yeah,
you were thinking about. You were thinking about Maria, and that was one.
yeah.
But
That's what I was thinking.
that's not who I mean. I don't know why I can't find her. Oh, Candice Michelle. I was thinking about the last name.
Ooh.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was
Yep.
yeah.
yeah. Durant Osmond, thank you for the $2 super chat. He says NWO or DX. Well, for me, I never watched WCW. So I'm gonna have to go with DX. I know of WCW. I rewatch it now, but I never watched it as a kid or anything like that. So I'm gonna roll with DX.
Same for me, man. DX all
Yeah.
the way. You can't beat Triple H in that
Yo,
sweet chin music
yeah.
combination.
Mike, shout out for $2 super chat. You're on to something. In her prime, bro, when she was general manager of SmackDown, I agree with you. I don't know if you guys remember when Stephanie McMahon was the general manager of SmackDown, bro. That was prime Steph.
It was just like I said. It was just hilarious to watch the whole McMahon family get stunned. They're just all funny to me because of that. I just can't take them serious.
Yeah, but yeah, for you, NW or DX then, Diggy?
Definitely DX.
DX, when they first started out too, they were the goats, and then they turned heel, I think, or
Yeah.
something like that. For like when Triple H was getting into his run as the heel. Who's your favorite bad guy of all time then? Edge is up. Like obviously Triple H is up there. Edge was
I would
great
say
heel.
I would say my favorite bad guy by far is Randy Orton.
He was
definitely
yo.
Listen, man, Randy Orton. It was so
I can
hilarious
agree
to
with
me.
Bro, at one
When
point
Randy-
he even looked like when he had the shave then he was mad skinny, bro. He looked like a viper at one point.
Randy Orton legitimately told John Cena, "I found your father, and I punted him in his skull."
Well, and what beats this celebration right here? You know what I mean?
I love that. I love the pose. Nah, but Randy Orton as a kid scared me because he went from being like an okay dude in Evolution that people rooted for to then like an annoying heel.
The legend
But
killer.
then he he was like a good heel as Undertaker. But when he became the Viper, I was scared of that dude, bro. He had
That's
the
a good
look
one.
like he would kill you.
Durant Osmond
Yeah.
said the best bad guy was Vince McMahon.
That's up there. He's up there. He's up there.
He's definitely up there. People are saying these are guys from way before my time. I'm guessing George Animal Steel, the Wild Samoans. Oh man,
that's the Rock's uncles and stuff. That's a way.
Is that a real thing?
Yeah,
Really?
that's the Rock's uncles. Yeah.
no, the
Oh, I didn't know
entire.
that.
If this is not even me like being like
Exactly.
grouping certain people, if you see a Samoan in WWE,
They're related to The Rock.
They're all related to the Rock. It's all the same family.
But yeah,
Like-
going back to Randy Orton, like first off, you're still watching some
Umaga.
of it. Does he still kick people in the skull? Does he
Whenever
still do that?
whenever he has his tendencies and whenever they play him as a heel, yeah.
That's hilarious, man. That is so hilarious. That's so hilarious to me.
The Iron Sheik. I know that was one that a lot of people from way back in the day thought was a good bad guy.
They could never
What?
do some of these storylines in 2021, man.
Facts.
Oh,
They would
no.
just get shut
No.
down. It would get
Oh,
they
yeah,
would get
facts.
canceled.
Mhm.
They would get canceled.
Maybe the Iron Sheik would get them completely canceled, bro. Who else would get them canceled?
You
I
know
mean-
what? Listen, JR, not JR, but Jim. No, not Jim Ross.
The
What's
King,
the
Jerry.
cowboy.
Jerry
No,
King?
the cowboy.
Jerry the King
the
Lawler?
cowboy.
Oh,
the
that's
cowboy.
JR.
No, John Bradshaw Layfield. JBL.
Oh,
Oh, JBR
He would get
with
completely-
the horns
he
on
would
the
get
limo.
Yo,
he
do
would
y'all
get
remember?
canceled.
Do y'all remember the time he literally went to the border and hunted?
Yes, that's what I'm
Mexicans, bro?
thinking about. He said, "Tell all."
went to the border.
He
had
said, "Tell all
ropes
your Mexican friends and
and was
family."
hunting Mexicans. He would be
Oh my
canceled
God.
today, bro. That was absolutely hilarious.
When I was
one
a
of the best
kid,
heels.
you know the JBL speakers and headphones. I thought that was his company when I was a kid.
Nate
Yeah.
says, "Remember when John Cena taped Batista's feet?"
Oh,
together?"
that's
I
like-
don't,
that's
I don't
like-
remember that.
I think that's 2009, and it was like a last man standing match.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
why he got that's how he got Batista not to stand up.
They said Big Daddy V would get canceled. Yeah, he would.
Oh yeah.
No, not his other
And Ri-
character. His
And
other
Rikishi
character.
would get canceled too.
Oh yeah.
Not Big Daddy V, but his other character. He had a character before that, Viscera.
Yeah,
Because
Viscera.
Viscera's finishing. Yo, you remember Viscera's finishing move, bro?
Yeah.
It was. I can't even say it.
Yeah. Ric Flair's signature move was literally hitting people in the night.
Yeah.
He would literally be like, no.
The low blow. Oh man,
Wait,
yeah.
I thought it was
administration.
the backhand across the chest. No.
No, that's one of his. That's another one of his finishers, the chop, because he does a chop like nobody else does the chop, bro. I remember Carlito, bro. I spit in your face because I don't think
For
you're
people
cool.
who don't
The
want
apple.
to be cool.
Yeah. They were trying to push
I was
Carlito
like-
at one point, bro. They were
I
trying
was
to
like,
make
they
him.
could not pay me to have this dude spit apple chunks in my face. They could not pay me for that, man.
Yo, y'all remember MVP?
Yeah.
Yes.
Montel Vontavious Porter.
Bro, when MVP debuted, they both of them up so much. They're like, the highest signed free agent on the market. I'm like, what? What is this? What does any of this mean?
His
does
feud
that-
with Matt Hardy was legendary, though.
Why does that name ring a
Hornswoggle the
bell?
goat.
That name rings a bell, but I don't.
Where he was-
like, I can't picture.
He was
Hornswoggle?
Vince McMahon's illegitimate fake son.
Oh, he's the leprechaun.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Shout out
Yeah,
to
yeah,
Lincoln
yeah.
for $2 super chat, man.
Remember, it was like that whole long story for like who's Vince McMahon's son,
You know what
and then
was
it ended up
what
being
I-
Hornswoggle.
You know what was always stupid about it? And even as a kid, I realized it. One of the final candidates was Triple H, and I was like, no way. There's no way. I'm like, what are y'all doing, bro? Stop.
That's called
Sheamus, he was another one that would probably.
Yeah.
Isn't he still
Oh.
wrestling?
Yo, you know who's absolutely goated for me as a kid, but will get canceled today, bro? And rest in peace to one of them, Crime Time. I don't know why I highlighted Santino, but Crime Time will get canceled today. But me and my friends love them because to us, they represent New York. They were dudes in Tim's, a wife beater with the hard jeans going in
The
there.
funny thing is,
They were
the
wrestling
funny
in
thing is, they
Tim's,
weren't from
bro.
New York.
Yeah,
That's
they
the funny
weren't.
thing.
Yeah,
Just
they
like
were-
Kofi
from?
Kingston.
Yo, you remember their theme song? The theme song was literally
I'm bringing
Brooklyn.
the hood to you.
Yeah. I'm like, nah, but I loved them as a kid, man, because I was like, they were wrestling in Tim's, bro.
No, MVP wasn't one of them.
Wait, Nate, was
MVP
that a real
did,
thing?
Like form a triple threat thing with them though.
Yeah, this was
Was that a
WrestleMania,
real thing?
WrestleMania 23, bro.
Yeah,
Oh
and Vince
my
McMahon had to
gosh.
shave his head. Bobby Lashley versus Umaga.
Who, by the way, Bobby Lashley belts his way up the company. He's currently the WWE champion right now. So
He
finally
should have
got
been
his due.
WWE champion literally 15 years ago.
Nah, not around WrestleMania. He wasn't the dude around WrestleMania 20, maybe like 2010 time. But I think he left the company, and so like that never happened. Yo, you
Yeah, he
remember
left
Umaga?
because he didn't get the title. Remember, he was supposed to get the belt, and like something weird happened, and then he ended up leaving after that.
The thing is, when I think about Lashley, I think about bad time because at that time they also had they were stacked at stars at the top. You know, you had Cena, H, Shawn Michaels. was
Yeah, but
still
they were
doing his
pushing
thing.
him though.
They were pushing him, and I remember they made him ECW champion. I guess he wasn't happy with that.
Exactly. That's why he left.
He was ECW champ for a minute, and yeah, but he came back, and now he's the champion right now. Let's see here.
Does he still look like he's on steroids?
100%. The dude is still absolutely massive. It makes no sense to me. HBK to go. I have a pretty good spot for Shawn Michaels. Yeah.
Yeah, his matches against The Undertaker and his matches against Ric Flair, and those are all-time great matches.
People
Brock
consider
Lesnar.
People consider his match in WrestleMania 25 against Taker the greatest of all time.
I do too. It's up there for me.
Flo
Yeah,
Davis. We don't talk about that one.
Bro, Brock Lesnar's first run compared to his second run is so different. He's a completely different dude. It's crazy to me.
I never liked Brock Lesnar.
Shout out to Marjorie for tuning in. What up, Marjorie? She said, Diggy, I just went back to hear you talk about our injury-prone receiving core, and I 100% agree. I do not feel comfortable unless we add more to it. Hey, give me some credit, too. I brought it up before Diggy brought it up in the stream. But yeah, no, I agree
Marjorie
with you.
up in here getting us back on track. We've been on tangent for quite a while.
No problem. I'm glad you guys are enjoying. I'm actually surprised that this many people in the chat could at least relate in some type of way about what we're talking about.
Exactly.
Yeah.
WWE was
Usually
a
when you
big
switch
impact
subject.
on people's lives like 10, 15 years
Basically
ago.
from like 95 to like 2015.
Yeah,
That's a
like,
good run right there.
a massive amount of people invested into the WWE.
Yeah. But yeah, man, I'm pretty sure I'm gonna end it out right here though, guys. I mean, unless you know what, I'll take a couple more WWE thoughts if you guys got any real quick, because I never get the chance to talk about it.
Who would you say? I mean, I guess JR is probably everybody's favorite announcer, but who would you say was your favorite announcer? Whether like you really hated him or you really liked him as an announcer. You know, I mean, like you really bought into him being a heel.
I hated, and I mean hated with a passion, Michael Cole. Could not stand that man,
Oh
bro.
yeah,
I hate it
facts.
Hated
because he
Michael
started
Cole so
off
much.
as like the cheerleader for like all of the faces.
Bro, he started
and he
off
would
as
be
a
like,
random dude in the backstage.
and you know and this is completely off topic, but you remember the random dude in the crowd came out and beat Umaga for the international
That
intercontinental.
was
championship?
Santino Morella.
Yeah,
bro.
Santino Morella. That
I
was
love
hilarious.
bro. Santino, bro, with the claw, bro. Don't test it, bro.
You know what's funny? You know what's funny? I found myself doing this before, and I did not
Really?
remember where I saw that.
Yeah,
And
you're
now
like, just like get the arm ready, bro. Bam,
Biggie
you're
just
dead.
out here in public, sitting here going at people down the street. He's like,
and you know
where did I see this at?
What's the dude's name right now? I do not know his name, but I saw this and I think it's hilarious, and I think they need to do more of it. He walks around with his
he's
hand.
throwing him off the cell.
He walks around with his hands in his pocket.
Oh, that's
and he
AEW.
kicks-
That's AEW. I'll tell you this right now. That's another reason I love AEW. They would never let that fly in WWE. That guy is
walks-
Orange
He
Cassidy.
did what?
I'm gonna pull up a video right now. Orange Cassidy is an absolute goat, bro.
He
This
walks
man is
around with his
hilarious.
hands in his pocket.
This is why
like an anime character.
if anybody is still a wrestling fan, go watch Orange Cassidy. He's hilarious,
Oh
and
my
I'm
God,
glad that AEW allows him to run his character because it would not fly anywhere else.
He
I'm gonna share it for
literally
a
is
quick
like
second.
a real life anime character with his hands in his pocket, like he's not giving any effort.
This is it right here.
Love the business like I do.
Well, I'm digging this match.
And
I'll
I'm
tell you that.
14.
All right, start.
Yeah, those things you're looking at, you can't wear them in the ring.
He's an absolute goat right now, man.
That
and
dude is
it goes back to what we
hilarious,
were
man.
saying. It's like it's a TV show. Cassidy is not about wrestling. He's all about the character. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Oh
Yeah.
gosh, that alone took me back, man. It's been at least like 9 years since I've watched any wrestling of any kind. That took me back. That was great.
Nah, man. Yo, we're going to end it right here, though, guys. Yo, shout out to everybody for sticking with us. This was a great stream. We literally spent like the last 30, 40 minutes just talking wrestling. That was
Exactly.
amazing, yo. Shout out to Max for coming in, Diggy for coming in, man. You guys were amazing. Any last thoughts before we end it out?
Yeah, man, I appreciate you having me on. It's like I said, this is my first time coming on as an actual guest. I had a blast. Talking Giants is always great, but you know, I love talking life. That's why I started my podcast, right? I had you on. We got to know a little bit more about Hub tonight. We released an episode with Alex from Big Blue in the Bronx. So yeah, my podcast is all about bringing people on, talking about life, and thanks for having me on. I had a blast. Appreciate you showing that video, man, because we were talking about WWE, and I was like, okay. And then I saw that video, and I was like, man, this really takes me back. For the first time in like 9 years, I watched the video, and I just busted laughing because that character is fantastic.
Bro,
But
the kicks, bro, deadly.
Exactly.
Deadly kicks.
But yeah, I mean, I don't have much to say. Thanks for bringing me on. It was definitely great to go down memory lane with the video games and the wrestling and stuff.
Facts.
Yeah, I mean, I guess on a Giants note, we're not getting Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts. We pretty much already knew that, but I think we're heading in a good direction.
100%, man. I'll tell you this right now. Oh wow, so the Nets just claimed #1 seed in the East. By the way, sad.
Man, that could be a whole different string. I hate the Nets, man.
I would love to get on because not only I don't hate the Nets. I dislike the Nets, but I hate KD. Can't stand.
I hate
KD.
the Nets.
If you want to do that on your channel, I'm down. But yo, guys, thank you for tuning in. I gotta end it. I know I usually go later than this, but I started earlier, and I'm gonna end around now because I'm about to go watch Godzilla vs Kong. I gotta watch that movie.
Ooh.
It came out today. So yo, peace out, everybody.